The new transfer student walks into class, instantly locking the gaze of every girl in the room. They all whisper, desperate to know his name, but the class bullies, they definitely are not fans. They glare him down, sizing up the threat. Already, one of them is plotting a move. He decides he needs to show this kid who runs the classroom. This transfer student is named Dean Kuan, and he sits right next to Minsu Kim. Just watch how this unfolds. The second class ends, the head bully struts over to prepare his little welcoming ritual. He strikes Minsu Kim across the head, barking at him to go buy some sausage bread. Too terrified to resist, Minsu Kim quietly mumbles that the next class is starting soon and he might not make it. This weak excuse just makes the blonde guy in the back laugh. Ho Jang sneers, his face darkening as he screams for everyone to close their eyes. Everyone obeys. Dead silence fills the room. Ho Jang stands over his target. He viciously slaps Minsu Kim again, asking the kid if he is tired of living. He tells him to move when ordered and stop talking back. Watching this, Dean clenches his fists, wanting to step in, but he remembers the strict rules Sammy Lee made for him. He cannot tell if she wants him to step in or stay back. Suddenly, Ho Jang glares right at Dean, demanding to know why his eyes are open. He notes that Dean is sitting in the exact desk of their former errand boy. He orders both of them to go, but Dean is absolutely not playing errand boy. Instead, he calmly asks if one person is not enough. Ho Jang just laughs. He mocks them, asking if they want to fight. Then his face turns dead serious. He calls Dean a pathetic worm and warns him to stop wasting breath and just go. Dean slowly stands up, agreeing to go but demanding the money first. Ho Jang stares in total disbelief. He never expected this new kid to demand cash. He grabs Dean by the head, spitting out who he thinks he is asking for cash. When ordered to buy food, you use your own cash. Dean officially snaps. He tells the bully he has zero manners, reminding him that he started this fight. Instantly, Dean strikes. A brutal punch digs deep into Ho Jang's ribs, making him retch. A second blow smashes his face, leaving him completely dazed, but Dean has no intention of stopping. Since he started, he is finishing this. Prepare for impact. Another devastating strike connects, and Ho Jang drops to the floor completely unconscious. The blonde bully stands up in utter shock. Dean mutters that any trash thinks they can test him. He tells him to get lost, mocking him for laughing so loud earlier. By now, the blonde guy is absolutely terrified of Dean and frozen in place. Dean steps closer, telling the kid that if he won't move, he will. He warns him to grit his teeth as the blonde frantically backs away. The blonde suddenly launches a desperate flying kick, but Dean effortlessly sidesteps. A follow-up straight punch misses. A wild right hook gets nothing but air. Enraged, the blonde curses out loud, demanding to know why he keeps dodging. Instead of answering, Dean buries a devastating blow right into his stomach, a punch so violent it leaves him gasping on the floor, weeping in pure agony. Dean invites him to see how many more he can take. The blonde wheezes. That chest hits can kill. Just then, Ho Jang stumbles back up with a swollen face, lifting a wooden chair to smash over Dean's head. Dean doesn't flinch. He calmly notes that he has never seen someone take so many hits before. With a swift counter, Dean punches Ho Jang right in the face again, telling him to rest. Dean sends the blonde guy crashing to the back of the classroom before grabbing Ho Jang. He asks the kid if he really likes bread before ordering him to buy some. Ho Jang sneers, asking if Dean thinks beating him makes him the class boss. He warns Dean that the real leader is coming, and they will be dead meat. Right on cue, the back door flies open, and a redhead steps inside. He looks right at Dean, demanding to know who dares mess with his guys. Manhwa sighs at his two beaten lackeys, disappointed they could not handle one guy. He turns to Dean, questioning how a transfer student dares to be this arrogant. Dean braces himself as Manhwa approaches, while the other students quickly clear the way. But Manhwa just smiles, asking why everyone is so tense about a fight. Dean laughs. He knows this guy is totally ready to throw hands anyway. Ho Jiang confidently tells the crowd to get popcorn, trusting his leader completely. But one cold stare from Dean ends that. He instantly shuts his mouth. Manho realizes he must teach the new kid a lesson to keep his respect. He acts friendly, asking for Dean's name, but watch out, it is a total setup. Manho suddenly blocks Dean's vision with one hand while aiming a dirty low kick. Dean spots the movement, instantly realizing this guy is going for a cheap shot. He recognizes the forbidden technique and moves quickly to protect his vital spot. It was a feint. Manho pulls his leg back and punches Dean instead. Caught off guard, Dean takes a direct punch right to the face. But he leaned back at the last second, cushioning the heavy blow. The lackeys cheer at the hit, but Dean is far from finished. He sweeps Manho's legs, sending the self-proclaimed boss crashing to the ground. Dean grabs his collar and slams him against the wall, mocking his dirty tactics. He calls it a shameful low blow, but Manho does not care. Manho laughs it off. He claims it was just a test before the real fight. Dean expects a fair clash, but Manho suddenly hurls a heavy dustpan at him. Dean dodges, but Manho immediately uses the distraction to launch another wild attack. Forced onto the defensive, Dean can only dodge the relentless onslaught. Manho gets completely furious, screaming at the transfer kid to stop running away. Suddenly, Manho shouts at a random student to stop interfering. Dean braces for a surprise strike, but it was just a regular student passing by. Manho uses the cheap distraction to throw a punch, but Dean easily blocks it. The desperate boss tries to poke Dean's eyes next, but fails completely. Completely fed up, Dean decides it is time to stop playing around. A massive left hook lands, blood sprays, and Manho knocks out instantly. The lackeys stare in absolute shock, and honestly, can you blame them? Dean looks at the trembling duo and tells them to wake him up. He demands that all three of them come find him once he wakes. Watching from a prime spot, Sammy Lee is highly impressed by the performance. But a nearby student recognizes her. Why is the Educational Foundation director here? Meanwhile, Dean stands over the defeated trio, giving them a stern lecture. He warns them to start behaving themselves from this day forward. Otherwise, he can easily become their worst nightmare instead of a friend. Dean then warns the entire class that he will handle any future bullies. The crazy truth, Dean is actually far from just some ordinary random guy. He dropped out of school for 2.5 long years to work retail. But now he suddenly resurfaces at a brand new school as a transfer student. The real problem is the local school bullies are completely out of control, ignoring everyone. The teachers have zero power, only other hardcore bullies can scare them. Because of this, the education department launched a wild supervision plan. They are sending much stronger, meaner fighters back into these schools to handle the punks. That is where Dean comes in, a dropout recruited to restore order. Just a few days ago, though, he was quietly working his shift at a shop. Suddenly, an underage couple walked in and tried to buy some beer. Dean flat out refused because these brats were obviously underage, while his cowardly boss watched. The boss hid nearby, terrified of these same kids from before. He ran out, pleading, "Can you guys please take this fight outside?" Dean was absolutely stunned, as his own boss completely threw him under the bus. Next thing he knows, he is being dragged into a nearby alley. The tattooed punk grabbed him by the collar, daring him to try acting tough. Dean did not even blink, calmly giving him exactly 3 seconds to let him go. The punk laughed. Enraged, he raised a heavy fist to strike him down. Smack! An incredibly loud sound echoed as the girl screamed for him to wake up. The punk opened his eyes. He was completely dizzy, realizing he got hit. Meanwhile, Dean was totally fine. The frantic girl rushed to help her boyfriend. He accused Dean of attacking from behind, then quickly whispered for her to get help. But she was way too panicked to understand his quiet whispers. He got furious, screaming at her to go call their entire crew right this second. She bolted. Dean just stood there, letting her go without any trouble. Soon a whole pack of bullies arrived, including a heavy, nervous guy. This heavy newcomer stepped right forward, demanding to know where Dean was even from. Dean just stared at him. "Are you actually still a student?" he asked. The guy sneered, introducing himself as Odhin from Nadong High School. He raised a massive arm, promising Dean a heavy slap as a personal welcoming gift. Boom! Before he could swing, Dean slapped him first, knocking him out cold. Dean looked at the rest. "I don't have time for this, so come all at once." They all charged him together. Big mistake, they were absolutely obliterated. It was a total wipeout, but watch closely, a mysterious woman approaches him. She offered him an incredible deal that Dean initially assumed was just a sales pitch. Instead, she handed him a business card and asked for a favor. Her name was Sammy Lai, and she managed the school supervision program. It was a special operation funded entirely by the massive Golden Dragon Educational Foundation. Hearing the details, Dean realized the plan made a lot of sense. He understood the pain. Dean used to be heavily bullied himself. Back then, any tiny attempt to stand up for himself only brought even worse beatings. The teachers just looked away, completely ignoring his quiet suffering. But everything shifted when a much stronger, terrifying bully spotted him one random day. Someone had stuck a cruel, insulting note about mothers on Dean's back. By coincidence, the bully had lost his mother, too. He went ballistic. Nobody dared to fight back. The top dog made it very clear that if anyone messed with Dean again, they would have to deal with him instead. After that, the teasing stopped. No one dared to mock him. It taught Dean a harsh truth: in school, a bully holds far more authority than any teacher ever could. To protect himself, Dean started to train constantly, mastering combat styles. After 2.5 years of endless training, he completely transformed and single-handedly took down every single delinquent in District R, becoming the absolute ruler of the area. But he soon walked away from that, becoming a quiet convenience store clerk. Sitting across from Sammy Lee, Dean asked if he wanted him to handle those high school delinquents. Sammy Lee answered immediately, confirming that was the goal. Dean scoffed, questioning how an official educational foundation could be plotting something so shady. Sammy Lee just leaned forward, admitting they had done their research on his past. He added that despite the ridiculous plan, Dean could not refuse. This was also a perfect opportunity for him to make up for all his past mistakes. The next morning, Dean was already waiting outside his brand new school. Rumors that he had already conquered Class 1 soon reached the third classroom. The delinquents in Class 3 did not care at all. They believed Manhwa only lost because of cheap tricks and surprise attacks. The Class 3 leader, Sangbo Sim, told his crew to focus on training instead. He walked up to a terrified student, declaring it was his turn today. Sangbo Sim punched the kid hard in the stomach, demanding a rating. The poor student gasped out 800 before throwing up on the floor. Sangbo Sim complained, telling the others to set up more human sandbags. He wanted to warm up before crushing the transfer student. Soon, class ended. Ho Jiang yawned, asking for a favor, while Dean watched him wake up. A blonde lackey suggested Ho Jiang get some exercise and go himself. Ho Jiang snapped back, but realized he was literally sitting on another student. He jumped off quickly, complaining about the noisy classroom. The blonde lackey suggested they should challenge the new transfer student outside school. Ho Jiang asked if Manhwa would easily beat him in a fight. A girl nearby laughed, calling them a pathetic pack of cowards. She walked up to Dean, acting flirty and asking to practice martial arts. However, Dean completely ignored her, staring intently at the blackboard instead. He looked incredibly stressed, and she realized he was actually trying to study. Feeling humiliated by the rejection, she turned her anger onto Manhwa's crew. She told them to forget about revenge and just study more. Manhwa recalled that since Dean defeated him, the other class leaders would target him next. He would not have to deal with Mongjung Kim or Sangbo Sim anymore. But if those rivals defeated Dean, they would all become low-level doormats. Ho Jang panicked, muttering that he would rather die than serve those rivals. But in the very next second, the leader of Class 2, Mong Jung Kim, appeared. Looking down at them, he mocked Manho for barely surviving his defeat. He laughed, asking if the beaten-up crew slept well after their humiliation. Ho Jang lost his temper immediately, but Manho stood up to face him. Grabbing a pen from the desk, Manho asked if he wanted to settle this. What it is like to wet your pants again, Mong Jung Kim mocked him, calling him trash who still acts tough with a weapon. Manho did not want to waste time and stepped forward. Warning him to get ready for a beating, Mong Jung Kim scoffed that they would see. Just as they were about to clash, a voice suddenly cut in, "Damn. You guys are being too loud." June adjusted his glasses, complaining they were disturbing his studies. Hearing that, Manho deflated instantly and quietly went back to his seat. Mong Jung Kim looked over at June and muttered, "So this is the transfer student who defeated Manho." Then he turned to Manho, saying he did not need to waste time on him. Ho Jang was absolutely furious, praying that June would teach this guy a lesson. Mong Jung Kim and his crew walked slowly over to June. He pointed right at him, asking his guys if this was the nerd wearing glasses like a total loser. Then he lined right down to June, asking what he had just said. He dared June to repeat it, but June completely ignored Mong Jung Kim. Thinking he had intimidated June, Mong Jung Kim reached out to grab June's hand, which was busy taking notes, but in the next second, June grabbed him back, bending his fingers back with brutal force. Intense pain made the veins on Mong Jung Kim's face bulge out. He begged shamelessly, crying for June to let go. June said he needed to organize his notes during this break, and if he did not want his fingers broken, to find him next time. Hearing this, Mong Jung Kim quickly agreed. June let him go, but in the next second, Mong Jung Kim swung a cheap shot. June leaned back easily and reached out, blocking the fist before delivering a massive slap across Mong Jung Kim's face. Talk about instant karma, he was knocked out cold on the spot. June wondered why the leader of Class 2 came looking for trouble so eagerly when he was planning to handle him later. Then he looked at the henchmen, telling them that when their boss wakes up, he had better not slack off. If he does, June will finish him. Soon, they dragged their boss away. June felt like it was a dream. He did not expect to conquer Class 2 so easily. Manho and his crew were completely stunned. Ho Jang quickly spoke up, claiming that forgiveness is 100 times cooler than revenge. He forgave him. Even the blonde guy agreed, admitting that studying hard was way more important. But they did not notice the guys from Class 3 slipping into the room. Their leader, Sangbo Sim, shouted out immediately, "Manho, I heard you got beaten up." Ho Jang was totally speechless at the familiar routine. Did these guys plan this? But Sangbo Sim dismissed them, saying he had zero interest in them. Instead, his group marched straight over to June and completely surrounded him. June sighed. Looks like note-taking would wait. They told his seatmate to get lost. Sangbo Sim then slid into the empty seat right next to June, mocking him about whether playing the model student was his whole persona now. He introduced himself as the leader of Class 3, mockingly worried that June might start bullying the whole school. June slowly took off his glasses, complaining that this was getting annoying and telling him to spit it out. A guy who constantly hides behind a pack of henchmen cannot be strong. Surely he did not actually think he was tough. Sangbo Sim just laughed. He found him pretty interesting, but decided not to start a fight just yet. Instead of fighting right then, he just tells Dean to be ready after class. He claims he is no loser like Manho, then walks off with his crew, leaving Dean. Dean is left speechless, realizing he is already incredibly popular on his very first day. So much for peace. Right then, Manho suddenly walks over. He slides up to Dean and asks if he can sit, but Dean rejects him immediately. Still, Manho pulls out a chair anyway and sits down to talk. He warns Dean that Sangbo Sim is different, calling him a genuine fighting genius. Dean just cold shoulders him. He never gave him permission to sit. Manhwa insists he wants to help. Dean just stares suspiciously. Dean asks what his game is, but Manhwa offers to help him win. Dean flat out refuses, but Manhwa completely ignores him and keeps talking. He explains that Sangbo Sim has been boxing since he was a little kid. But he does not care about trophies. He only trains to beat people up. Pure punching bags. Soon, the lunch bell rings. Dean heads down to the cafeteria, practically drooling at the sight of actual food. He was so sick of eating expired food from his convenience store job. Dean's sharp, model-like looks quickly draw attention from other class leaders. This includes Sun Hyungu from sports and Dusk Quack from the entertainment class. Word of Dean absolutely destroying Manhwa and Mong Young Kim has spread everywhere. But they hold back. Everyone is waiting for the main event. They all want to see if Dean can actually survive Sangbo Sim after class. Meanwhile, Manhwa sits down to eat with Dean, frantically giving him advice. He warns Dean to be extremely careful, but Dean completely tunes him out. He asks Manhwa why he is so terrified since he supposedly won before. Manhwa sighs, admitting that their previous fight did not exactly end cleanly. He explains that he almost got beaten to death during that final clash. The boxer had perfect footwork and distance, making him completely impossible to hit. With his back against the wall and on the verge of losing, he got desperate. To win, he resorted to his absolute dirtiest secret technique, a low blow. The cheap shot forced Sangbo Sim to tap out, but nobody respected the win. Naturally, Sangbo Sim refused to accept it, and the victory was totally hollow. Dean just stares, complete deadpan silence. Well, obviously, Manhwa adds that ever since then, Sangbo Sim wants blood. Since they never rematched, Manhwa is helping now so they do not become lackeys. Right then, two complete nobodies approach. He instantly recognizes them as a couple of Sangbo Sim's lackeys. Out of nowhere, they dump trash on his tray. They offer a fake apology, but the girl next to him snaps. She screams if they are crazy, but they just dismissively wave her off. They smugly tell her to calm down before walking away with a sneer. But before they can leave, Dean grabs one of them by the shoulder. The entire cafeteria instantly goes dead silent as everyone watches closely. The punk in Dean's grip starts to panic, his tough act completely vanishing. He yells at Dean to let go, stammering that he already apologized. But Dean only squeezes tighter, his cold gaze locking onto the bully. Accepting your apology is my problem, not yours, Dean raised his fist. But his phone buzzed. He paused, lowering his hand and let them go. The screen lit up with a message from Sammy Lai, making Dean freeze. This was the woman who forced him back to high school in the first place. Graduation meant a clean slate and a fully funded college life, everything paid. But he had to stay under the radar, no crazy trouble. If he blew it, he was going straight back to his miserable old life. Dean took a slow breath, realizing he could not afford to draw attention. The two trembling punks realized Dean was completely distracted, scrambled to their feet, and bolted away. Dean ignored them, scratching his head. He had to play this smart. If he pulled this off, he would finally get the peaceful life he wanted. Besides, it was day one, and he had already beaten up too many people. The watching crowd looked disappointed, but they could see Dean was no idiot. Dean stood up, shoved his hands into his pockets, and left the cafeteria. Manhwa and his crew stood there, totally baffled by his sudden change of heart. Out in the hallway, Dean worried if his cafeteria brawl had crossed the line. Sammy Lee would kill him. He resolved to stay quiet for the day. But right then, he spotted the cafeteria troublemakers lurking down the hall. The kid tried to bolt, but Dean grabbed his collar, still want to run. The kid stammered, telling him that new transfers did not know how things worked. He warned Dean that he had to beat Sangbo Sim first to call any shots. Otherwise, the whole school would hunt him. Dean stared at him, completely speechless. What kind of brain-dead rule was that? Dean dragged him toward the exit. "Let's find somewhere quieter to talk," Dean muttered, "unless you want a beating here." Behind the building, Dean gave him a physical reminder of who was in charge. "Call your class leader," Dean ordered, "if beating Sangbo Sim gives me free rein." The kid groaned that Sangbo Sim was busy using other students as punching bags. Dean's eyes went cold. He asked if that meant the guy was beating innocent kids. The punk looked surprised, asking how Dean knew and if he did it too. With that confirmation, Dean's restraint dissolved, no more holding back. He had been too naive. Staying quiet did not matter when kids were hurting. He marched straight to Sangbo Sim's classroom, looking through the window. A kid was getting thrashed inside. Sangbo Sim noticed Dean and sent a lackey. The lackey slid the door open, only to meet Dean's dark, furious glare. Sangbo Sim sneered, asking if Dean was too impatient to wait until after class. He waved a hand, telling the bruised victims to get out of the way. As the kids limped aside, Sangbo Sim grabbed one of them by the shoulder. "Stop faking it," he hissed, asking if the kid was planning to snitch at home. The terrified student whimpered, claiming he had just tripped and hurt his own ankle. Dean watched, his chest burning. He knew this exact sense of utter helplessness. He remembered what it felt like to be broken and cornered by bullies. But today, Dean had the power to hit back. He wasn't that victim anymore. He stepped forward, telling Sangbo Sim to stop venting on these helpless kids. "If you actually have guts, fight someone who can fight back," Dean challenged. Dean pointed right at his face. He must be tired of hitting ordinary punching bags, especially if this guy thinks it is unfair. To be treated like his personal punching bag, the spiky-haired guy snaps instantly, screaming in pure rage. "Did you just call me a punching bag?" He immediately lunges forward to punch Dean. But Dean dodges, grabs his arm and collar, and throws the guy hard. Before his target can even recover, Dean winds up. A punch flies forward like a cannonball. It hits squarely. With just one blow, the guy passes out, completely shocking the surrounding crowd. "What was that boom?" Dean glances at Sangbo Sim. "Not bad." Just like hitting a punching arcade game, there are so many punching bags left to destroy. Sangbo Sim turns red with rage, veins popping. He orders the crowd to move the furniture. Dean does not even try to stop him. He knows Sangbo Sim fights from a distance and needs extra space to breathe. News of the fight spreads. Manhwa and the others run there, finding Sangbo Sim ready. He faces Dean. In the blink of an eye, Sangbo Sim charges forward with incredible speed. He throws a punch, but Dean slips to the side. Sangbo Sim immediately spins his body and throws a heavy hook. Dean dodges it cleanly, impressed by Sangbo Sim's rapid-fire reactions. Dean slips away at the very last second, but Sangbo Sim quickly launches another relentless attack. Dean patiently waits for an opening, but Sangbo Sim spots the trap and backs away instantly. He retreats safely. Dean frowns. Manhwa was right, this guy is not weak. He has natural fighting talent, serious training, and incredibly agile footwork for attack and defense. Most importantly, he is lightning fast. Sangbo Sim rushes in again, throwing rapid-fire punches. He actually manages to pressure Dean for a moment. Watching from the door, Manhwa grows deeply worried. Manhwa remembers getting beaten by this exact combo before without even getting a single chance to fight back. Dean spots an opening. His counter-punch launches instantly. It connects right on Sangbo Sim's face before he can even think to dodge. Dean's massive punch sends Sangbo Sim flying backward. Luckily, he manages to raise his guard just in time. But Dean's heavy punch still inflicts serious damage. Sangbo Sim is left utterly shocked. He cannot believe the guy's raw strength. Ho Young and his blonde ally watch with open mouths. They do not even see Dean throw the strike. Dean simply shakes out his arm. This guy has crazy fast reflexes to block that, but Sangbo Sim only grows more confident. He genuinely believes he has figured out Dean's rhythm, so Sangbo Sim starts bouncing on his feet. He bounces around, waiting to counter Dean first, in the next moment. Watch this, Sangbo Sim lunges forward, and Dean tries to counter. But Sangbo Sim quickly backs away, dodging the blow. He smiles, thinking he already won. Instead, Dean lands a brutal low kick to his knee. Sangbo Sim is completely caught off guard, never expecting Dean to use his legs. He tries throwing a punch to force Dean back, but Dean slips the punch and kicks the exact same spot again. Those consecutive kicks leave Sangbo Sim unable to stand. Dean steps close, telling him to get up. He is stunned. Dean asks if he still wants to act tough and underestimate him. Dean fires another kick, knocking Sangbo Sim flat. He repeats his command, telling him to stand up. Manhwa and the crew are frozen in absolute shock. Sangbo Sim. He manages to stand, but his leg shakes uncontrollably. Dean mocks him, asking why he is trembling. If you can't handle it, stay down. Sangbo Sim snaps, asking if he thinks he won. Do you think you won? Getting tired of this, Dean kicks him again. Sangbo Sim braces himself, expecting another low kick to the leg. He raises his guard. But Dean suddenly stops the kick, launching a brutal right hook straight to his face. Dean catches the kick out of nowhere and fires a brutal right hook straight into Sangbo Sim's face. He barely blocked in time, but Dean shoved his hand right in front of Sangbo Sim's face. Blinding his vision, Dean immediately lashed out with another kick to his injured leg. This was real, brutal fighting, aiming right for the weakness. Watching from the side, Manhwa stood completely shocked. Talk about dirty tactics. After taking so many harsh blows to that exact spot, Sangbo Sim was done. The sheer agony left him sweating cold. Nobody realized this clash was being recorded. From a distance, a mysterious guy watched the fight with a smug smirk. He laughed, muttering that watching others fight is the absolute best, and these rookies actually scrap pretty well. Dean simply looked down coldly at his opponent, who was now nailing on the floor. He ordered him to get up, but Sangbo Sim struggled desperately to find his footing. Unable to stand, he remained on his knees while the surrounding crowd watched in total shock. It was absolute humiliation. The physical education leader muttered that even if he stands, he cannot fight. His leg is completely finished. See, a boxer's greatest asset actually is not their fists. The most terrifying element is footwork, maintaining the perfect distance from the opponent. If the fists are bullets, the footwork is the gun firing them. But right now, his movement is dead. An immobile boxer is worse than an ordinary person. Sangbo Sim forced himself up, growling that it is not over yet, you worm. Dean merely smiled and asked if he wanted to continue, before kicking him again. Unable to retaliate, Sangbo Sim could only guard as the powerful impact threw him back. He flew meters away, realizing the situation had turned incredibly ugly for him. This bastard was too strong, with blocking or dodging useless. His only hope was close combat. But before he could act, Dean launched another devastating kick that sent him flying. Sangbo Sim crashed hard into the corner, panicking as he realized he was trapped. In the next second, Dean closed in, unleashing a relentless torrent of heavy punches. Sangbo Sim desperately tried to defend himself until Dean found a clean opening. He struck him right in the ribs, knocking the wind completely out of him. Losing consciousness, he could only shield himself using raw survival instinct. Now a helpless punching bag, he took 81 consecutive hits before breaking. He collapsed onto the floor in sheer terror, realizing he could never win. Dean walked over, coldly telling him he had 10 seconds to get back. But this time, Sangbo Sim just hung his head and refused to get up. Honestly, no one could believe what they were seeing as their top fighter surrendered. Sangbo Sim's friend stood frozen, knowing the hidden reason why he never competed. He knew why he avoided fighting Manhwa and only beat up defenseless targets. It was all a facade to look strong because he was actually terrified of pain. His friend quickly ran forward to stop Dean, begging him to hold back. He declared they give up, but Dean ignored him and looked down coldly. He demanded to hear the confession directly, forcing Sangbo Sim to beg him to stop. Satisfied with the surrender, Dean turned to leave, but threw one final mocking insult. "What kind of boxer are you anyway?" he jeered. "You aren't even worth punching." The watching class felt like they were trapped in some bizarre, surreal dream. As Dion left Class 3, Manho stood there deeply contemplating his strength. Nearby, Sung Hyungu recognized that Dion had kept his true power hidden. They would need to observe him closely. Outside, Dion ran into a familiar face. It was the same troublemaker from the cafeteria who immediately scoffed at him. He mocked Dion, asking if he was too scared to watch the beating inside. Was someone hitting a punching bag? But Sangbo Sim's agonized scream startles the lookout guy outside. He rushes to the door only to find Sangbo Sim kneeling on the floor, completely broken. Shaking in fear, the guy stares at Dean. Dean asks if he has anything else to say, and the terrified kid quickly blabs out a frantic no. Suddenly, someone bumps into him. Manho and his crew are leaving Class 3, telling the guy to move. He instantly steps aside to let them pass. Once Manho and his buddies are gone, the guy rushes back into Class 3, asking Sangbo Sim if he is all right. But Sangbo Sim just glares at him with a look that sends a shiver down his spine. Sangbo Sim snaps, telling them to get lost, absolutely furious about this humiliating defeat. He refuses to accept this loss, swearing that things will not end here. Meanwhile, in a meeting room, adults are watching the video of Dean's fight with Sangbo Sim. One man remarks how impressive Dean is, while Sammy Lei sits right beside him. He tells director Lee that he is highly satisfied with her plan. Thanks to her, they can pull this off, though he finds the school rules pretty annoying. With the rules gone, Sammy Lee grows anxious, recalling Dean's terrifying past. Without some strict rules to hold him back, there is no telling what he might do. But the man just dismisses her concerns, teasing her for being so incredibly boring. He argues that Dean is just a school bully who holds zero power in the real world. To them, he is just an obedient kitten used to flush out the hidden rats. No matter how strong he gets, he will never escape their tight grip. Let him run wild. Meanwhile, the news of Dean's victory spreads like wildfire. Taking over 3 classes on his very first day shocks the entire school. Dajin Park, the leader of Class 4, completely brushes it off as someone else's problem. Meanwhile, Sun Hun Lei, the top student leading Class 9, only cares about his studies. And Wan Wung Kim, the chill boss of Class 6, just wants to play in peace. But Julk, the anxious leader of Class 5, is actually starting to panic. He heads straight over to Class 6, looking to recruit Wan Wung Kim for a plan. While Manho's victory over Class 3 was nothing, this new kid is a real threat. Unlike the usual weaklings around here, they need a real strategy to stop him. Just then, a nearby girl sighs, muttering how she will never understand guys. Meet Susie Beck, the self-proclaimed queen of Class 6, and honestly, she might have a point. She scoffs, saying if she ever loses, she will just get her big brother to handle it. Julk immediately shuts that down, refusing to involve the seniors in a freshman war. With that, Dean's first day wraps up. After school, Manho and his crew tail him closely. Manho warns Dean that he just lit a fuse in an already tense school. The other class leaders are undoubtedly plotting their next moves right now. He better watch his back, because the guys here are not as dumb as they look. Shifting the mood, Ho Jong suggests they put the gang wars aside for some gaming. A quick trip to the internet cafe sounds perfect, especially since he finally hit silver. Right then, Dean spots Sammy Lee's car and instantly knows she is waiting for him. He declines the invitation, coldly reminding them that he is gold and does not carry silvers. Ho Jong mutters in frustration, complaining that he still cannot stand this arrogant kid. But as Dean hops into Sammy Lee's luxury car and drives off, someone is watching. A student on the street is completely shocked, recognizing Sammy Lee's car in disbelief. What is she doing here? The girl with glasses asked Gi Ine what was happening, but Gina watches Sammy Lee's car pull away, thinking the woman is up to something. Inside that very car, Dean sits in a nervous sweat, completely on edge. He's terrified he displeased Sammy Lee, but she merely notes his wild first day. Dean quickly tries to explain that he only went over to say hello. They cornered him first, so that basically counts as self-defense, right? But Sami Lee's cold face doesn't budge, making Dean immediately lose hope. Fine, he sighs, just tell me what kind of punishment I'm getting. Surprisingly, Sami Lee tells him there won't be any punishment at all. In fact, she says he handled himself incredibly well under their watchful eyes. Because of that, they're actually easing up on his restrictions from now on. A grin finally spreads across Dean's face, no more holding back then. But wait, Dean freezes as a suspicious thought suddenly hits him. How does Sami Lee know exactly what happened unless she's actively spying? She simply adjusts her glasses and tells him it's a tight secret. Instantly, he suspects MSU Kim, his quiet deskmate, is actually a spy. But honestly, it barely matters anymore, given how fast gossip travels. The entire campus already knows. Later, Sami Lee pulls up to an apartment. She leads Dean right up to a door and tells him this is his home now. Stepping inside, the sheer luxury of the place leaves him completely speechless. He never imagined living in such a beautiful place. She's being incredibly generous. Still, Dean notices the place isn't new, prompting Sami Lee to explain. It turns out she used to live here herself, making him freeze. Dean stammers out, "Wait, does this mean we're living together?" Her expression turns fierce. "Keep dreaming, you idiot, absolutely not." Dean's face burns with embarrassment over letting his imagination run so wild. Clearing her throat, Sami Lee mentions the Foundation is highly pleased. However, fewer restrictions don't mean he can just go around starting fights. Street violence is off limits, break that rule and they won't protect him. Plus, the school staff has absolutely no idea about this setup. Standing out too much will only make things incredibly difficult for everyone. Dean rolls his eyes, so he basically has to walk on eggshells. Sami Lee handily drops a loaded bank card for him before leaving the apartment. Dean shrugs it off, as long as he crushes those bullies, whatever. But Sami Lee doesn't actually head home after leaving his apartment. Instead, she slips into a dark room just a floor below. Oh, here we go, massive security screens, keeping a watchful eye on Dean. The next morning, the teacher pulls him aside for a serious lecture. But it quickly devolves into a barrage of cruel, personal insults. The teacher sneers cruelly, mocking him simply for growing up without any parents. Dean's blood boils, but hitting a teacher in public is off limits. Watching this entire humiliating interaction from nearby is none other than Gina. Having seen Sami Lee's car, she knows about Dean's brutal fights. She connects the dots, watching him closely with growing suspicion. Could Sami Lee's hidden agenda revolve around this new transfer student? Meanwhile, Jaeuk is secretly snapping photos of Susie Beck, the class queen. Out of nowhere, Sangbo Sim's two underlings show up asking if anyone's seen him. Apparently, the guy skipped school and disappeared. Nobody can get a hold of him. Let him rot, one of them mutters, but what about the new kid? If we leave him alone, won't he? And then Won Kim looks up. Won't he what? Won Kim asks. Shaking, the lackey waves his hands fast. It's nothing, I swear. I'm not saying you would lose to him or anything. Won Kim motioned him over. The guy crept forward, stammering out apologies. Next thing he knows, Won Kim's fist cracks straight into his nose. Blood flies. Dizzy, the poor bastard, looks up only to see the boss beckoning him back. He didn't dare refuse. He stepped up and took another brutal hit to the face. Won Kim snarls, "Watch your mouth next time. I'll handle the new guy myself." Now get lost, the kid scrambles out, leaving Jock to step up with a grin. That was pretty cold, boss, but you know they might actually have a point. Won Kim just sighs. Do you know why games have autoplay, Jock? Jock nods, saying he loves auto battles. Won Kim smiles. It's popular because we do nothing. No effort required. Meanwhile, Dean is quietly playing detective back in class. He has no idea how Sami Lee gets info. Could MSU Kim be the spy? Dean blurts it right out. MSU Kim, is there a camera hidden in your glasses? MSU Kim blinks, completely caught off guard. A camera? What are you even saying? Realizing he was too blunt, Dean backtracks. Why did you suddenly start wearing glasses? MSU Kim explains that he has actually always needed them. But Ho Jang used to mock anyone with specs. I was terrified of his teasing. So I switched to contacts, but with you here now, things are different. I finally feel safe. Hearing that, Dean feels a spike of anger. He stands up to correct Ho Jang. The bully cowers, not even remembering his teasing. Terrified, Ho Jang quickly turns to his blonde classmate. Hey, I'm pretty bored. Let's play on the floor. Instantly, Ho Jang drops, face down, hands behind his back. His friend is completely baffled. Right then, MSU Kim adjusts his frames. Dean's eyes narrow instantly, and let's be real, his suspicion is totally justified. MSU Kim, why'd you touch your glasses like that? MSU Kim sighs. It just feels a bit strange wearing them again, that's all. Dean rubs his neck. Right, sorry, I'm just getting a bit paranoid lately. While Dean wonders about Sammy's spy network, a stranger creeps near the window. Gina happens to pass by too, both peer at Dean, looking for any changes. Gina's so glued to Dean, she doesn't notice the guy and crashes right into him. He whirls around, snarling, "Are you blind? Watch where you're going and get lost." Gina stammers an apology and scurries away, muttering about what a total jerk. The stranger turns back to spy on Dean, but suddenly their eyes lock. Panicked, the guy flees. Over in Class 9, Gina gets cornered by her friend. "Were you just hanging around Class 1? I thought you only cared about studying. Turns out you're just like the rest of us, hunting for handsome guys." Gina waves her hands, blushing, but her friend just laughs it off. "Don't sweat it, the new kid is gorgeous. Half the school is writing love letters." Gina's head spins. Before she can even react, her friend drops a bombshell. She somehow dug up everything on Dean, down to his most private details. He was heading past the street food stalls after class, leaving Gina completely at a loss. She had absolutely no idea how to explain herself. Besides, she had no real reason to keep an eye on Dion, so after class, Gina began tailing him, desperate to figure out what he and Sammy Lee were secretly plotting. Meanwhile, the thug who was watching Dion alongside Gina was meeting with Won Kim, Class 6's boss. In the end, they all belonged to Class 6. Won Kim had brought everyone together to target Dion. One of the guys hesitated, asking if it was a bit trashy for them to ambush the new guy. "He is the leader of Classes 1 to 3, and we are not even leaders." Won Kim snapped back, "So what? Besides, were you not good at fighting? Back then, if you had not met me in Geok, Class 6 would be yours, or are you suddenly worried about some minor rules between classes? Ultimately, everything belongs to me. And Geok, there is nothing wrong with you giving them a push, just drop the newbie, do not worry about the rest, just call me once it is done." With that, Won Kim left. The squad led by Jinmo waited for Dion to show. Soon they spotted Dion passing by. Jinmo tossed his milk tea aside and went after him. Dion sensed the hostile vibes immediately, turning on his heel into a deserted alleyway. The mob followed Dion closely, while Gina, who had been tailing him, was left. Stunned, she had no clue why these thugs were pursuing him. Gina rushed after them to see what was happening, but Jinmo spotted her right behind them. Gina quickly pretended to be on a call. The thug ordered his crew to keep tailing Dion while he intercepted her. He sneered at Gina to stop pretending because he knew she was not actually on a call. She was totally following them. Then he remembered how she had bumped into him before. Now he got it. He figured she was totally into him, throwing herself at him, like, who does this guy think he is? How cute. Throwing his arm around her, he claimed he was busy, but she could watch them handle some business, and then they could get a motel room together. Highly offended, Gina shoved him away, cursing and asking if he was insane. Jinmo instantly flared up, threatening to slap her face. He demanded to know if she was the one stalking him. Earlier, Gina fired back, asking how she could ever like a massive, bloated gorilla like him, but a second later, the thug's buddies suddenly heard his screams echo down the street. Confused, they whipped around to see what was happening. Their leader was clutching his eyes, shrieking in pure agony at the crazy girl. Gina stood tall, holding a can of pepper spray, asking who gave him permission to touch her. By now, the rest of the gang had rushed back. Their blinded leader screamed at them to grab her. In an instant, several thugs closed in as Gina backed away, completely terrified. Just as they lunged, Dean materialized right out of thin air, yelling at them to stand down and calling them complete fools. They were about to tell Dean to back off, but then a strange realization hit them. Dean calmly pointed out that they were the ones who had been tailing him, proposing they move elsewhere to properly exchange ideas. Sensing an opportunity, Jinmo happily agreed since they were busted anyway. The mob then led Dean into a secluded alleyway, but it was already occupied by rival students from the neighboring Bang Yun Academy. Jinmo immediately recognized Jin Wucha from Bang Yun alongside Young Man Lee. Both of them were notorious fighters in the underworld. Jin Wucha called out, asking if they were from Golden Dragon, claiming he had never seen. Young Man Lee agreed, admitting he did not know either and figured they were just cowards. He asked if they knew Wan Wung Kim, who had sent them to settle a certain matter. The two scoffed at the mention of that coward, agreeing to leave the place to them. Jinmo was completely embarrassed. Still, he did not dare say a word. Meanwhile, over at the house, Wan Wung Kim and Jio were busy playing video games. When Jack learned that Wan Wung Kim sent Jinmo to capture Dagon, he smelled a setup. But Wan Wung Kim promised him everything was under control and told him to relax. It would look terrible if the newbie got beaten by a nobody, even if those guys are pretty dumb. Strong but dumb. Meanwhile, Jinmo and his guys completely surrounded Dagon. Jinmo quickly tried to excuse himself, claiming he had absolutely nothing to do with this. He was already complaining, muttering about how he wanted to show off his real strength. Dagon looked over at Gina thoughtfully, realizing she had been following him all day. He wondered if Sammy Lee had sent her to keep an eye on him. He told them to let her go since she had nothing to do with this. But to his surprise, Gina refused to run. Jinmo immediately snapped at Dagon. He mockingly asked who Dagon thought he was, warning him that he was getting thrashed. Then he stepped closer to Dagon, raising a lit cigarette to blow smoke in his face. Dagon warned him, "Do not blow that smoke anywhere near my face," unless he wanted to make sure he never saw the light of day again. But Jinmo ignored the threat. In a flash, Dagon lunged and grabbed his entire face. He swept Jinmo off his feet, sending him crashing down to the hard ground. While Jinmo was still dazed, Dagon unleashed a strike so fast the guy never saw it. The fist connected hard. Just one solid punch knocked Jinmo out cold. The other three onlookers stood there, with their jaws dropped in absolute disbelief. They never expected Dagon to be this strong, but they knew they had to fight. Otherwise, Wan Wung Kim would make their lives a living hell for failing him. They prepared to swarm him together, yet nobody wanted to take the first step. Nobody moved. Dagon smiled, offering to make the first move himself. He immediately charged forward, throwing a heavy punch right at the first target. Another guy lunged, but Dagon easily slipped past his guard. He moved to the side, already aiming for the person behind him. A single devastating blow. Dagon sent the guy flying, completely knocked out cold. The last untouched goon stood completely frozen, paralyzed by his absolute fear. Seeing his buddy still trying to fight gave him a tiny bit of confidence. His eyes widened. Dagon kicked him hard right in the chest. He crashed against the back wall, losing his breath as he collapsed. The guy slumped down, completely helpless. Only one opponent remained standing. He stood utterly shocked by Dagon's strength before desperately charging forward anyway. Dagon easily blocked the desperate attack, shutting down his momentum. He followed up with a brutal strike right into the guy's ribs. No room to breathe. Dagon swept in, taking him down in one swift motion. He aimed a knee strike right at his face, but then he stopped. Dagon sighed in relief. It was close. he almost lost control. He had almost lost control and completely finished the guy right there. Meanwhile, Won Kim was gaming at a cyber cafe when his phone rang. Won Kim answered his phone casually, but a second later, his jaw dropped. Young man Lee delivered the news that Jinmo and his crew had been crushed. Meanwhile, back with June, Jinmo finally opened his eyes and woke up. He was greeted by June's cold, intense glare boring right into him. And all his boys were completely beaten up on the ground. June kicked him. "Get up and join them," June ordered before starting to lecture the group. Young man Lee and his friends watched this unfold from their hiding spot. They could not believe Golden Dragon School actually produced such an absolute monster. On the other end of the line, Won Kim was equally stunned. June patted Jinmo on the shoulder and asked who had sent them. Was it that Won Kim guy? Jinmo initially tried to deny it. But June suddenly grabbed his collarbone with an absolutely terrifying grip. "Talk, or do you think I am stupid?" Jinmo instantly cowered in fear. "It was him, please do not tell him." Both monsters terrified him deeply. With that settled, June turned his attention and stared directly at Jinna. "Why is this girl following you guys?" June questioned. Jinmo spoke up. He claimed she was in love with him, which instantly infuriated Jinna. "Are you completely insane?" She yelled that she actually detested him. "You look like a disgusting gorilla, worse than unwashed socks," she screamed. Ouch, not gonna lie, that is a soul-crushing emotional defeat right there. Totally destroyed, Jinmo apologized, but insisted she was following them yesterday. Hearing this, June looked intrigued, making Jinna stammer nervously. "You watch too many movies," she claimed, denying any interest in thugs. She quickly walked away, declaring she wanted no part of their savage violence. June watched her leave without stopping her. Outside, she ran into Young Man Lee. Still waiting nearby, Young Man Lee pointed her out to his friend. He whispered about how pretty she was compared to their school girls. Back inside, June grabbed Jinmo's phone number and gave him an ultimatum. "Bring Won Kim to me tomorrow." The next day arrived quickly. But after waiting for hours, June saw no sign of Jinmo or the boss. He checked his phone and learned Jinmo could not track Won Kim down. Annoyed by the delay, June decided to go handle this matter personally. Entering Class 6's room, he found Jinmo playing games. June asked where the boss was, but wearing glasses, he was completely unrecognizable. So June grabbed Jinmo's hand and squeezed it with an agonizingly familiar force. The sudden pain made Jinmo realize exactly who was standing there. Their quiet struggle immediately caught the attention of the entire classroom. Just then, Susie back entered and marched right over to confront June. She demanded to know why he was starting trouble in another classroom. And she told Jinmo to stop embarrassing himself, but he was paralyzed. Suddenly, Susie back recognized June. She grabbed him, asking if he knew where he was. June calmly told her to mind her own business and back off. But a second later, she slapped him hard, sending his glasses flying. She demanded some respect. June replied darkly that her identity did not matter. But hitting him was a massive mistake. "Oh, she has no idea what is coming. Since you transferred, you probably do not know. Have you heard of Soo-hyuk Baek, the senior leader of the Golden Dragon?" But Dean just stared at Susie Baek and told her he did not know him, so what? But in the next second, Susie saw Dean without his glasses and blurted out brother, quickly explaining that Soo-hyuk Baek was her brother. She never expected Dean to look this good without glasses and called him that by accident. Dean just ignored it, but his attention was suddenly drawn to a newcomer. This person walked in and immediately kicked Jinmo, slapping him repeatedly, while Jinmo did not even fight back. Dean watched, stunned. Jinmo clutched his bruised cheek, stammering out that he was sorry to Hwan Kim. Dean realized this was the guy and asked if he was indeed Hwan Kim. The guy answered, "That is right." "Do we need to repeat my name? I heard you were looking for me." Seeing this, Dean did not waste any time, saying he came looking for him today. but Hwan-yang. Kim replied that they had no connection. Why was he looking? For him, Dean rubbed his forehead, saying that looking for him, of course, was too, and out of nowhere, Dean just launches a massive punch. The guy gasped, completely unprepared for such a sudden strike. Fortunately, Jae-suk jumped in to block him, demanding to know why he attacked so suddenly. Dean just coldly asked who he was. Jae-suk was quite taken aback then. Introduced himself as Jae-suk from Class 5, even if he did not have the right to interfere. In other classes, he could not just stand by while someone caused trouble like this. At this point, Jae-suk is probably questioning his own strength. He used full force, yet Dean did not even budge. Meanwhile, Dean muttered that he actually possessed some strength, asking if he was trying to take him down. Hearing this, Jae-suk released Dean awkwardly, saying that did not matter. Fights happen all the time, but they still had the right to know why. Just then, Hwan-yang Kim grabbed Jinmo, demanding to know if this was about yesterday. Then he yanked Jinmo by the hair, telling the dumb idiot to explain himself. But before Jinmo could even speak, Hwan-yang Kim slapped him across the face, then he kicked Jinmo, yelling that the more he thought, the angrier he got. The idiot had used his name in vain. Jinmo did not even dare back, just apologizing over and over. But Hwan-yang Kim did not stop, asking if water got into his brain. He had caused a huge misunderstanding. Finally, Hwan-yang Kim stopped beating Jinmo. Turning to Dean, he admitted he did not control his guys well. But surely it was too much to accuse him without any actual proof. Dean was annoyed. Looking at Jinmo, he realized there probably was no proof. Seeing this, Hwan-yang Kim stepped forward, cursing, but Jae-suk held him back, telling him to calm down since the guy clearly knew he accused them wrongly. Jae-suk told Dean he must be confused, as they did not care about power rankings anyway. Just then, the bell rang for class. Dean was deeply annoyed, feeling like he was tricked. In this situation, Dean knew he could not attack. He walked away, leaving Class 6 behind. Hwan-yang Kim smiled, praising Jae-suk for doing a great job acting. Jae-suk admitted he was nervous because that guy was incredibly strong. It was the truth. They should not get involved with him directly. Hwan-yang Kim picked up his phone, muttering that they were left with only one option now. Meanwhile, back in the classroom, Degun thought over everything, knowing it was Wang Kim's master plan. But they acted like they wanted to stay completely away from the trouble. If he did anything, everyone would frame him as the bad guy. Their attitude was completely ambiguous, giving him absolutely no reason to punch their faces. Just then, the teacher started talking about how war requires a valid excuse to be fought. Degun understood immediately. A perfect way to handle them was finally presenting itself. Meanwhile, Wang Kim was furiously scolding Jinmo and his gang, who stayed quiet. Frustrated, Jinmo silently complained that Wang Kim would never fight the transfer student alone. Yet he still came to lecture them. Meanwhile, Wang Kim dialed a number. He was calling Youngmin Lee from Bongnan High School to talk about the transfer. Youngmin Lee picked up and immediately asked what was going on with that guy. Wang Kim replied that Youngmin and Jinwoo Cha needed to get in the game. He wanted to handle it inside school, but nobody there could stop the guy. Once they beat him down, Wang Kim would finish it. Youngmin saw no issue. Even if the target is tough, he stands zero chance against them. Then Jinwoo Cha stepped up, asking if they could track down that girl from the other day. Wang Kim had no idea who Jinmo was talking about. Jinmo remembered Jiana. Why did they want her? She had absolutely nothing to do with this mess. So Wang Kim asked Jinwoo Cha why he suddenly wanted to find the girl. Jinwoo Cha smiled, admitting she was his type and they might as well mess with her. Wang Kim instantly agreed to the plan, ordering Jinmo to go drag her in. Jinmo grew incredibly tense. The innocent girl had absolutely nothing to do with this. Then he remembered their strict rule about touching students from other classes. You must beat the class leader first, he warned Wang Kim about Class 9. Messing with her meant their leader, Sun Hun Lei, would definitely start a war. But Wang Kim scoffed, saying girls did not pay protection so it was fine. Besides, what could that nerd do? It was time to dominate Class 9 anyway. Jinmo was instantly annoyed. How on earth was he supposed to kidnap both? Soon after, Jinmo tracked down Degun and knelt on the ground to apologize. The surrounding guys watched in shock, knowing Degun had single-handedly crushed 4 yesterday. He was undeniably awesome, but unfortunately, he seemed impossible to get close to. Degun lightly kicked Jinmo, reminding the bully that he had crossed the line. But looking at the pathetic guy, Degun only felt pity and abandoned the beating. Instead, he lectured him, demanding that he apologize to the girl from yesterday. Jinmo agreed immediately, offering to buy a chicken barbecue meal to show regret. Degun was genuinely surprised that the guy wanted to treat him out. That pitiful look completely moved Degun, who actually hugged the guy back. He happily agreed to eat together right after class. Next, Jinmo approached Jiana. He offered her the exact same barbecue invitation, but Jiana refused instantly. Jinmo quickly explained he had no bad motives and that Degun would go. Hearing that the mysterious new transfer student was attending caught her friend's attention. Yarrow urged them to go together, but Jiana remained stubborn, shaking her head. She found it way too embarrassing and absolutely refused to tag along. Yarrow looked at Jiana with puppy eyes, pleading for this rare chance. Jinmo chimed in, suggesting they simply bring their friends along to join. Bring your friend along too, since 4 people is always better. Seeing this, Guy shrugged and agreed, admitting he didn't really want to go, but they might as well head out together. Jinmo said he'd meet them right after school, but the moment Jinmo walked away, deep regret set in. What an absolute idiot he was, dragging an innocent girl into this mess just to pretend they were getting barbecue. He had actually stood there smiling like a fool, right at that exact moment Jinmo spotted Minsu Kim. He knew right away this was Dean's deskmate, figuring the two of them had to be pretty close. Time flew by and school was finally over. Jungman Lei and his Bangan High crew were already waiting. By now, Dean was walking alongside Jinmo, Guy, and the rest of the group. Both Dean and Guy felt incredibly uneasy about this weirdly mismatched group. Only Yarrow was busy swooning over Dean. After walking for a while, Dean noticed there weren't any open shops around. He stared down Jinmo, asking if there was actually a barbecue place nearby. Jinmo instantly panicked, stammering that it was just around the corner. Yarrow chimed in too, saying that the best hidden spots are always tucked away in dark alleys, though she'd never heard of this one. Dean kept his eyes locked on Jinmo, pressing him further on the issue. What was the actual name of this restaurant? He demanded. Jinmo froze, looking around in a sweat. Seeing him squirm, Dean pointed out how incredibly suspicious and panicked he seemed. And just like that, the trap is sprung. Dean spots a shady crowd waiting up ahead. Blocking their path is Jungman Lee and his backup squad from Bangan. Dean realizes instantly that Jinmo's apology was nothing but a cheap setup. Fuming with rage, Dean is ready to break Jinmo in half right then and there. But Jinmo drops to his knees, crying out that he had no choice in the matter. He begs Dean to kill him later if he wants, but insists his back was against the wall. Watching this, Guy and Yarrow finally realize they were all used as bait. Guy snaps, cursing at the spineless coward for dragging a completely innocent girl into his mess. By now, Jungman Lee and his gang close the distance, looking down at Jinmo. He sneers, why kneel for him when they came to make Dean bow down instead? Dean decides to handle these punks first, telling Jinmo to stay put until he's finished. He promises to settle their score next. Meanwhile, the other Bangan thugs are still laughing, whispering that they can't believe this lone guy supposedly beat 4 of their guys. Plus, that kneeling kid is a total wimp. How does someone like that even go to Golden Dragon? Jinwoo Cha warns them not to underestimate Dean. He and Jungman Lee saw it firsthand. That kid is an absolute monster. Hearing this, a massive guy steps up. If he's truly that tough, he challenges, they shouldn't gang up on him just yet. He wants to test this golden dragon powerhouse himself and see what kind of skills he's got. The bald guy walks right up to Dean, demanding they go head-to-head first. But Dean is left completely baffled, genuinely unsure if this guy is even talking to him. It turns out Baldy is completely cross-eyed, making it impossible to tell where he's looking. Baldy snaps stop looking around, he is staring right at him. Honestly, you can't make this stuff up. Dean decides not to waste any more precious time. He casually tells the guy to make his move already. Baldy instantly takes a stance, bragging about a bizarre training method that supposedly unlocked his extraordinary vision. He claims those wild, unfocused eyes will soon have Dean screaming in absolute agony. Apparently, nobody who has ever stared into them has lived to tell the tale, and with that epic speech, he charges forward. Even young man Lei is completely left speechless by this. Young man Lee stares in shock. Those unfocused eyes are really something. They make it impossible to predict strikes, giving young man Lee major trouble in the past. Eventually, he had to rely on heavy wrestling just to pin him. He doubts the new transfer student will have an easy time. But then, boom, in an instant, Degun is already strangling Baldy. Young man Lee is completely stunned. He didn't even see how Degun pulled off that move. Baldy is locked in a tight chokehold with absolutely no escape. Young man Lee curses, unable to tell if the fighter is even conscious. Those crossed eyes reveal nothing, making it impossible to tell. Young man Lee shouts at Baldy to surrender, but watch what happens next. Baldy's arm goes completely limp. The entire gang freezes in shock. Degun asks if they seriously thought a surrender would save them. They came specifically to break him, even dragging in innocent bystanders. Since they crossed that line, they better be ready to pay. The Bong Yun gang is absolutely furious, scoffing at his arrogance. They ask if he even understands the situation. There are 9 of them, no way he wins, but Degun just hands his backpack to Yarrow, telling her to hold it while he finishes this. He tells them to stand back, then calmly steps forward alone. He challenges them all to stop being cowards and come at him at once. The Bong Yun thugs do not waste a second, immediately spreading out to surround Degun, but he has already analyzed the field and made a move. He launches a brutal flying tackle to slam the closest guy down. He follows with a heavy punch to the face as the others rush. Degun grabs a fistful of dirt, throwing it directly into their eyes. With their vision blocked, a blonde guy suddenly throws a kick. Degun reacts instantly, catching the blonde guy's leg midair before delivering a vicious sweep to slam him down, then swiftly dodges another swing. With a slick sidestep, he drives an uppercut into the jaw. The blonde thug tries to scramble back up, but Degun is far too fast. He shuts him down with another sweep. Nearby, Jinmo watches in total awe. He knew Degun was strong, but this level of power is insane. Maybe he actually has a shot at defeating Wanwang Kim and Jizo. He could easily become the first-year leader. Meanwhile, Jinwoo Cha sees the chaos unfolding on the field and orders the remaining guys to charge. He meets them head-on, dodging the initial strikes to close the gap. He digs a left hook deep into the guy's ribs, following up with another blow. A sharp right hook to the jaw, completely paralyzing him. Only one remains. Degun strikes first, unleashing a heavy front kick to the abdomen. The impact almost makes him throw up, but Degun is already spinning. For a high kick to the head, knocking him out cold instantly. In under 2.5 minutes, Degun successfully knocked out 7 opponents. He locks eyes with young man Lei and Jinwoo Cha, only those 2 remain. Jinwoo Cha is completely terrified by his unbelievable, monstrous strength. Nearby, young man Lee warns Jinwoo Cha that their opponent is getting exhausted. He has done this before. When 2 guys rushed him, Dean lined them up. Keeping them in a straight line blocked the guy behind, shutting down their coordinated attacks. It was a flawless strategy. He he turned a chaotic brawl into simple one-on-one fights. It was the same reason he pinned the first guy against the wall earlier. He knows how to control the crowd. He knows how to isolate his targets. Right then, heavy footsteps echoed nearby as more thugs rushed in from the distance. The Bongyun backup had arrived. Dean stood shocked. How could there be this many? The newcomers stared in disbelief at all their bruised buddies groaning on the ground. This kid was tough, but luckily they had brought some heavy baseball bats along. Young man Lee sneered at Dean. You might be strong, but we never said we only brought 10 guys. What can a single fighter really do against a crowd this size? Dean felt the pressure rising. Just a bit of pressure, though. Suddenly, a familiar voice cut in who says he is fighting alone. Dean turned around, completely stunned. He never expected to see Manhwa and the rest standing there. Even his deskmate Minsu Kim was there. Manhwa smirked. Our class rep cannot fight alone. We came to back you up, he said. Dean blinked, asking how they even knew he was here. Minsu Kim gestured to the back, pointing out that Jinmo was the one who tipped them off. A terrified Jinmo quickly muttered that he was only talking to himself. He did not think they would hear him. Nearby, young man Lee growled in pure annoyance. Are you punks mocking us? He spat, shouting that this entire situation was getting on his nerves. One gang Kim will crush you all, so you and Dean better watch your backs. Hearing that, Jinmo dropped his cowardly act. He glared at Jinwoo Cha, saying he had hated him for years. I am no weakling, Jinmo declared, refusing to take orders from that gangster One Gang Kim anymore. He mocked the Bongyun trash, making young man Lee and his partner absolutely lose their minds. They were so furious they nearly coughed up blood. Manhwa clapped Jinmo on the shoulder. Glad to have you on our side, Manhwa said, welcoming their newest fighter. He noted the enemy had about 7 or 8 guys left, with those 2 acting as the leaders. Manhwa suggested that Dean handle the bosses while the rest of them cleaned up the rabble. Right then, young man Lee recognized Manhwa as the school's notorious former class leader. He never expected him to play this dirty by recruiting Jinmo. Dean watched them, sighing. He admitted he was grateful for the backup, but did not want to ruin their cool moment. Still, each of them would have to face at least 2 guys who were fully armed. He asked if they could really handle it. Manhwa laughed, asking why weapons would ever scare him. In fact, it was perfect. Manhwa dropped his bag to the ground, ready to fight. Let us get started, he said. Beside him, Minsu Kim began digging around in his pocket. Hojang unzipped his small pouch, while Manhwa kept searching deep inside his own school bag. He pulled out an 80-centimeter iron bar, while Minsu Kim slipped on heavy military brass knuckles. Hojang casually pulled out a heavy wrench as Manhwa and the others struck a pose. They grinned. We might have lost to you in class, but we played differently out here. Dean stood completely speechless. Seriously, what kind of high schoolers carry weapons like this in their bags? Manhwa pointed his iron bar at a Bongyun thug holding a baseball bat. He smirked, asking if the kid even knew how to swing that thing properly. The bald thug roared, threatening to rip his head off, but Manhwa just shrugged. He taunted him to step up if he actually had the guts. The bald thug snapped. He charged forward, swinging his bat wildly, but Manhwa had already predicted the entire trajectory. This guy was right-handed, meaning the strike would definitely come diagonally from the top right. A second later, Manhwa threw chalk powder right in his face. Kids really have no honor these days. Manhwa then punched the iron bar guy's belly, following with a swift low kick. He dropped him to his knees, knocking the bald guy out cold. The Bonjun crew watched in sheer disbelief. Such a dirty fighter. Meanwhile, Manhwa grabbed his bat. Pointing the bat, he warned them not to interrupt the captain's fight. But the Bonjun gang was completely terrified by his underhanded tactics, hesitating to move. Seeing their hesitation, Manhwa taunted them to come at him instead. Reluctantly, the Bonjun lackeys charged, but Manhwa easily avoided the first swing that came his way. Ducking the attack, he countered with a punishing bat strike across his backside. A heavy thug tried to blindside Manhwa from behind, but his ambush was quickly blocked. Ha-jung stepped in, sending the heavy attacker flying with a powerful punch. As the whiner complained, Ha-jung had already raised his weapon. He brought his wrench down hard, sending the rest of the gang into a panicked frenzy. Desperate for any weapon, one thug scrambled to grab a beer bottle off the ground. But while he hesitated, wondering if a glass bottle was too dangerous, Minsu intervened. He drove his brass-knuckled fist straight into the guy's face. Another rival immediately prepared to launch a surprise attack on Minsu from his blind spot. At that instant, Jinmo intervened, kicking him away and leaving Jinwoo completely speechless. The brawl was a chaotic mess. Degun smirked, pointing out that their numerical advantage was completely gone. He challenged them to show their real skills now. No longer watching, Jinwoo joined in. But Youngmin insisted on going first, claiming his wrestling style suited a private duel. He wanted to test the guy's strength alone, telling Jinwoo to assist only if things turned bad. Sinking into a low wrestling stance, he suddenly lunged with explosive speed. He shot in close for Degun's lower body, aiming for a swift leg takedown. But Degun simply pressed down on his head, denying the takedown. Jinwoo charged in with a flying kick, forcing Degun to let go of Youngmin to avoid the blow. But the moment he evaded, Youngmin lunged forward and locked his arms tightly around Degun's waist. A triumphant smirk broke across Youngmin's face. Getting caught by a wrestler is absolute trouble. Knowing the extreme danger, Degun twisted his body to break free. But Youngmin quickly dug deep, hoisting his opponent high in an instant. If his head slammed onto the concrete, he would be knocked out cold instantly. Desperate, Degun quickly stretched his arm out at the absolute last second. He grabbed onto the nearby wall, completely ruining Youngmin's momentum and leverage. Unable to finish the throw, the wrestler fell hard to the ground. Even as he fell, Youngmin clung tightly, refusing to release his target. But Degun quickly executed a swift roll to break his grip. He pinned Youngmin flat against the floor, ready to end it. Raising a heavy fist for the finishing blow, he was suddenly interrupted as Jinwoo rushed back in. Degun leaped back, desperately creating distance to dodge the incoming strike. He felt some pressure now. Their seamless coordination made it incredibly tough to find an opening. Right at that moment, they shifted tactics, and Jinwoo took the lead. Jinwoo closed the gap, launching a high-flying kick that Degun ducked. Without pausing, Jinwoo spun into a lethal wheel kick aimed right at his head. Degun chose careful defense instead of recklessly lunging in for an attack. He watched closely and finally realized that all of Jinwoo's dangerous attacks were purely leg-based. In a flash, Degun lunges. He wants to shut down the distance. Jin Woo-cha senses the danger. He scrambles backward to safety. Watching closely, Degun realizes Yangmin Lei is just waiting to jump in. One slip up and they will strike, but he has already got them figured out. No more games. Degun charges Jin Woo-cha to eliminate him first. As the strike flies, Degun slips aside to bait a false opening. A wild swing, but Degun effortlessly dances around the punch. Suddenly, a counter strike shoots right out from under Degun's arm. Barely 2.5 seconds later, Jin Woo-cha realizes he has been hit. By then, Yangmin Lee has already jumped in to shield his partner. Waking up slowly, Jin Woo-cha realizes he actually blacked out there. If his partner had not stepped in, he would have been completely finished. Now he desperately needs to recover and find a flaw in Degun. Yangmin Lee suddenly drops low, aiming for another desperate waist grab. Denied, Degun catches him by the throat. That tackle was too obvious. Anyone could see that sloppy takedown coming from a mile away. Sensing disaster, Jin Woo-cha rushes back in, but Degun is ready. He shoves Yangmin Lee aside just as a heavy kick aims high. Degun ducks it. A fast slide kick sweeps the supporting leg. Jin Woo-cha instantly loses his balance and crashes to the concrete. No mercy now. Degun drives a brutal, heavy boot straight into his face. Jin Woo-cha desperately throws his hands up, but Degun punches clean through the gap. One direct hit to the skull, and Jin Woo-cha is out cold. Degun calmly brushes his hair back, locking eyes with Yangmin Li. It's over, do you want to walk away or need some help? Stepping closer, Degun quietly tells him that this whole mess ends now. Yangmin Li is completely terrified, there is just no way to win. Still, he steps forward, only to find Degun's fist already there. With absolutely zero reaction time, Yangmin Li gets leveled by the crushing strike. Just one punch and he's wobbling, barely keeping his balance. Degun closes in fast, grabs him by the waist and slams him. Pinning him hard to the floor, Degun mounts him as Yangmin Li struggles hopelessly. Completely drained, he can only watch as Degun rears back his fist. A relentless beating follows until Yangmin Li finally begs for mercy. Please stop, he promises never to mess with Golden Dragon High again. That pathetic excuse only makes Degun angrier, prompting another brutal punch. He cracks him across the jaw again, pulling him up tight. Do you really think I am going to stop just because you begged? Today, you are paying the ultimate price for carrying water for Wang Kim. Who's ruling this school anyway? Meanwhile, Manhwa and his crew finish up. They easily clean up the rest of the thugs. Degun tosses Yangmin Li aside. Think hard about your future, take your friends and disappear quietly. Right now, Yangmin Li is drowning in regret, staring at the floor. The gap between them is just too massive. With everything handled, Degun turns to leave. Manhwa stops him, asking, Did you bring weapons today to teach that despicable Wang Kim a lesson? But Dean replies that he is too tired and thanks them. Hearing this, Manhwa, Ho Jiang and Minsu Kim blush, claiming it was nothing at all, calling themselves birds of a feather. Then Dean eyes Jinmo, who straightens up instantly in pure terror, but Dean calmly says he will let it go today, saving it for later, and asks if Gina and Yarrow got hurt. Seeing things settle, Yarrow almost collapses, but Dean catches her quickly, asking if she is okay. Held close, Yarrow blushes red as a pepper, quickly pulling herself together to say she is fine. Hearing this, Dean apologizes for the mess, saying he dragged her into this. Yarrow protests, but Gina cuts in and snaps that it absolutely is his fault, calling Dean's entire existence a mistake, besides fighting everywhere. He still intimidates innocent people, making him no better than these other lowlifes. To her, none of them are good, just brainless thugs. Solving everything with violence, she snaps that people like him should just hide. With that, she drags Yarrow away, leaving the boys stung but unable to defend themselves. Once away, Gina apologizes to Yarrow for losing her temper, explaining that despite them saving them, she can never see them as good. She decides to stop watching Dean, hoping his connection with Sammy Lee will not ruin her plans, and tells Yarrow she is visiting Jian. Yarrow waves goodbye, fully understanding why Gina reacted so strangely to them. Her brother Jian was a victim of severe bullying in the past, leaving him in a vegetative state. Seeing him, Gina cannot understand bullies. They consciously hurt people, and she cannot fathom what is in their heads. Do they think it is just a joke? If they felt this same pain, would they still do it? Meanwhile, Dean hugs Jinmo, asking how he should punish him. Jinmo is full of regret, accepting any punishment, as long as he can apologize to the kids they bullied earlier. Dean smiles, glad he is apologizing, since those kids were entirely innocent. Meanwhile, Wang Kim still waits in the park for young man Lee as Jinmo and the others appear, making Wang Kim ask why they are alone without Lee. Pulling his hand out of his pocket, he asks who they are acting tough for. Jinmo glares angrily and charges straight at him. Looming over him, Jinmo throws a punch, but Wang Kim quickly dodges and punches Jinmo's ribs, but he cannot handle being surrounded by so many people as they kick his chin. Attacked from all sides, he sees things get ugly and tries to escape, but trips over a block. Jinmo throws himself on top, but Wang Kim punches him off, trying to escape as the henchmen arrive kicking, completely cornering Wang Kim, who knows he is screwed. The next day, news of his swift defeat By Jinmo spreads, Jinmo feels avenged, growing confident as the new leader of Class 6. Jinmo shows off, choosing who will do chores for him, but when Dean appears, Jinmo instantly straightens up, asking what he wants. Dean says he came to congratulate the new leader. Jinmo boasts, saying it is all thanks to Dean, who then asks if the leader or just take a punch to get it over with. Jinmo straightens up and says please go easy. Dean raises his fist, landing a precise punch on Jinmo, who feels like he is flying straight to heaven. It is actually quite nice, with one punch from Dean. Jinmo instantly faints. Dean glares at the others, asking if they want some too, terrified. They stammer that they are not with him. Dean slaps one of them, telling him to stay quiet in the corner. They yell, understood. Dean walks out of Class 6. Now he is the leader of Classes 1, 2, 3, and 6. In just a few days, he conquered 4 classes. Manhwa and the others are thrilled, crowding around Dean to please him. He pushes them away with a textbook, telling them not to disturb his studies. Surprisingly, Ho Jong notes his backpack is lighter than before. Dean, when are we going to the LAN cafe? I just hit the gold leg. Seeing this, Dean helplessly adjusts his glasses. You guys are pretty annoying, but I guess I can tag along just this once. Hearing this, the 3 are instantly hyped, though Manhwa mutters somewhat awkwardly, I think I am still in bronze. Ho Jong quickly tells him to shut up. Nearby, MSU Kim warns that if anyone dares to take Dean down, he will smash their chin with brass knuckles. Just then, Juhai Park suddenly pipes up, saying she wants to go too. MSU Kim immediately mocks her, saying she is too embarrassing to even play with. In the next second, MSU Kim takes a heavy punch straight to the face. Juhai Park snaps, why are you talking so much? I just want to play some simple racing games near you guys. Nearby, Manhwa and Ho Jong quickly hold back Juhai Park. Seeing this, Dean can't help but smile warmly. Meanwhile, Geo, the fierce Class 5 leader, is still desperately trying to contact Won Wung Kim, but none of his calls are going through. Nearby, Susie Beck suggests that he might have dropped out of school. There's no way things are that bad. He didn't actually lose to that new transfer student, did he? Geo recalls Won Wung Kim's words, knowing that beaten fighter won't ever return to school. Meanwhile, thinking about Dean makes Susie Beck's heart flutter. This guy is not only handsome, but also extremely good at fighting. She asks Geo if he plans to challenge Dean, but Geo is not sure if he can actually win. Susie Beck then suggests teaming up with the strongest leaders from other classes. Geo admits he thought about it, but now only classes 4, 5, 7, 8, and 9 remain. But since when did you care about power rankings? Why are you so invested this time? Susie Beck instantly recalls the first time she met Dean and accidentally called him Big Brother. Thinking about it makes Susie Beck feel incredibly embarrassed. She really wants a chance to intimidate Dean. After school, Dean and the group head over to a gaming cafe. However, his skills are pretty trash. They keep losing game after game. MSU Kim cannot help teasing him, asking if he is actually gold or if he hired a booster. Hearing this, Juhai Park jumps in, telling them it is just a game. Why are they taking it so seriously? She tells Dean to ignore these gaming-obsessed guys. But right after losing her match, Juhai Park absolutely snaps, violently slamming the keyboard to pieces. This extreme rage quit leaves Dean completely speechless. In the end, because they broke multiple keyboards, the angry owner kicks them straight out. The next day, the squad is still incredibly salty about their losing streak. Dean tries to defend himself, muttering that if they had not been kicked out, he would have shown his true skills. Dean suddenly stands up, saying he is done talking to them, planning to take a quiet tour of the other classrooms. Dean knows that beating down school bullies isn't his only goal, not by a long shot. It's about restructuring the whole place. Next, Dean heads over to Class 2 to find Mong Young Kim. Right as he enters, Mong Young speaks up. I have been living a quiet campus life, just like you said, he tells Dean. That's good, how's your hand? Mong Young Kim immediately wiggles his fingers. showing off some flashy movements to prove everything is completely healed. But Dean cuts him off right away. Did you forget my warning? Don't get cocky in front of me. Still, your performance is decent, so keep it up. If I hear any bad rumors, you're done. Next, Dean checks Class 3. Since Sangbo and his crew got absolutely wrecked last time, they haven't shown their faces, leaving the classroom surprisingly quiet and peaceful for once. Meanwhile, over in Class 6, a bunch of students are making a total racket. Suddenly, Jinmo slams his hands on his desk. You guys are being too loud. You're disrupting my studies, so shut up already. Nearby, one of his friends asks why he's suddenly trying to study, mocking if that beating broke his brain. But in Jinmo's mind, Gina's face flashes. He finally realized she's the school's absolute top student. To stand a chance with her, he has to actually study. Right then, Susie Beak snaps at him, telling him to stop whining and work. Jinmo wouldn't dare test his luck with her, awkwardly stammering that he understands. Susie is still stressing over calling Dean her big brother. She summons Jinmo. Jinmo scrambles over without a second thought. Susie stares him down, reminding him of that day when she mistakenly called Dean her brother in front of everyone. She claims she actually meant to say her brother Sahyok. Jinmo, keeping his eyes glued to his textbook, just mutters that he gets it. He totally gets it. Seeing his weak attitude, Susie's temper flares, raising her comb to strike him. Terrified, Jinmo quickly squeals that he is listening to every single word. Susie stops and warns him that she is letting him off just this once. She tries to explain herself, but freezes up when Dean walks into Class 6. Jinmo scrambles away, while Susie's face flushes bright red, leaving her completely speechless. Dean simply drops off some orders for Jinmo and immediately heads back out. Jinmo immediately rushes back to Susie to apologize, saying he had no choice but to obey Dean since he's the boss. He asks what she was saying. But Susie just smiles coldly, telling him to take off his glasses first. Whimpering, Jinmo complies, and in a flash, she starts beating him with her book. She screams, demanding how he dared to run off while she was speaking. Jinmo takes the hits without resisting, endlessly apologizing and begging for mercy. Susie eventually stops, not out of pity, but because she's starting to sweat and doesn't want to ruin her makeup, so she calls over Jinmo's lackeys. With a gloomy face, she orders them to stomp him out, brutal right. Without a second thought, they drag Jinmo away and start kicking him mercilessly. They mutter apologies, but they have to obey. Meanwhile, Susie is deep in thought, plotting how she should deal with Dean once the beating is finally over. She tells them to bring in Gio, who arrives at Class 6 moments later. Susie gets straight to the point, asking how his previous assignment is going. Gio wonders if she means forming an alliance with other leaders, asking why she cares. Susie Beak claims there is no real reason, she just wants to intimidate him. Jaisok suggests telling her brother, but Susie Beak blushes, suddenly looking incredibly shy. She flatly refuses, saying her brother might actually kill Daegun if he finds out. She just wants him to submit, completely begging and treating her like a queen. She demands that Jaisok quickly come up with a clever way to make him bow down. Left with no choice, Jaisok realizes his only option is to team up with the other class leaders. Since they need to take down Daegun anyway, he plans to form a massive alliance. Soon enough, the leaders of the other classes gather inside the rooftop storage room. Each representative from the remaining classes is present for this secret meeting. We have Jaisok representing Class 5 and Kwak Dusik representing Class 8. Alongside them are Koo Seung-hwa, Park Dojin, and the mysterious leader of Class 9. That would be Lee Seung-hoon. Jaisok wasted no time pitching the alliance to crush Daegun. But Koo Seung-hwa immediately rejects it, no interest in rankings. Besides, he's confident he'd never lose to Daegun. Kwak Dusik agrees completely. He mocks the proposal, calling their alliance a joke since they all hate each other. He looks straight at Jaisok. Are you seriously that scared of the transfer kid? This insults Jaisok, who warns Kwak Dusik to watch his mouth before things get ugly. But Quack Dusik could not care less, casually asking what Jaisok plans to do about it. Koo Seungwa jumps in to instigate, suggesting the two of them should just settle it right now. After all, they never actually finished their previous fight to see who was superior. Park Dojin immediately grins, fully supporting the idea of a chaotic brawl. He even wants to bet 500,000 on Quack Dusik walking away with the win. Jaisok is completely speechless, deeply regretting ever calling these dysfunctional leaders together. Suddenly, Koo Seungwa shifts gears and announces he is actually on board with the alliance. Quack Dusik is skeptical, questioning what a united front could even achieve against one guy. Seungwa tells him to wait and let Jaisok explain what he has in mind first. Jaisok points out that D-Gun is moving fast, systematically taking down class after class. With the old hierarchy completely ruined, they need to form a collective shield to survive. But Koo Seungwa quickly gets bored, calling them weaklings and telling them to handle it themselves. Park Dojin also backs out, admitting he hates sharing money and has no interest in cooperating. Seeing the meeting fall apart, Quack Dusik wastes no time preparing to head out too. He throws out one last jab before heading toward the exit. He laughs an alliance. Someone here really needs to use their brain. That is the absolute limit for Jaisok. He snaps, "You stay right there." But Quack Dusik isn't intimidated at all. He just slowly wags his finger. "Come on then, let us see if you can actually handle me." Just as a fight is about to break out, Lee Seung-hoon steps in to stop them. He tells them to cool their heads and look at the bigger picture first. The upcoming collection day is the sole reason they fought so hard to become leaders. Golden Dragon's massive event is bound to draw out the school's absolute strongest fighters. While he doesn't know Jaisok and Quack Dusik's motives, the others are incredibly obvious. Koo Seungwa and Park Dojin only care about money, and their greed outweighs everything else. Even if they pretend to walk away, they will almost certainly make their move very soon. Their best bet is to lay low, observe, and strike after the collection day is over. Meanwhile, Park Dojin returns to Class 4, casually passing the time by playing a mobile game. Gambling with his classmates, Dojin Park is having some pretty terrible luck, losing cash fast. In minutes, seeing Dojin Park get visibly frustrated, the other guy quickly speaks up. He says there is no need to pay, suggesting they wrap it up and continue tomorrow. But Dojin Park just stares at his hand, lost in thought. Then, boom. Out of nowhere, he slaps the guy, sending him flying back in total shock. Watching him roll, Dojin Park feels way better, claiming his luck is finally turning around. Time to try again. Meanwhile, Jisuk returns to class and Suzy Beck approaches. She asks if he allied with other class leaders. Jisuk starts to explain. Jisuk explains Seong Hun Lee's actual thoughts. Hearing this, Suzy Beck is left completely speechless. Basically, he is doing absolutely nothing, so she realizes she must take control of the situation herself. To handle things, after class, Dojin Park and some of his guys are relaxing in the park. One minion reminds him that collection day is near, suggesting they should take over more classes. That way they can make way more cash. Dojin Park just smiles, loving how they think. He was thinking the exact same thing. The new kid already controls 4 classes. They just need to eliminate him. The minion says it will be soon, planning a betting pool. Dojin Park is totally down, telling them to get him good odds and bet everything on him. They are going to make some easy cash. Right then, a group of older guys suddenly approaches. Standing up to bow immediately, Dojin Park welcomes their boss, asking how he has been. He mentions hearing that the boss joined a real gang after dropping out of school. The guy admits it is true, though things are pretty tough lately. Then he looks back. Pointing back, he tells his client that he never expected the target to be his own junior. Surprisingly, the client is the very same student who lost all that cash to Dojin Park earlier. He hired this gang member to teach Dojin Park a lesson. Right then, the big guy steps up. Assuring the client, he promises that since he took the cash, he will handle the job. Just educating a junior, Dojin Park realizes they paid him to teach a lesson. Meaning they paid the gang to teach him a lesson. The big guy confirms that is right. It is just business in a new area, so he asks Dojin Park to cooperate. Hearing this, Dojin Park grabs his stomach and bursts out laughing at the sheer absurdity. Laughing at his tough guy act, Dojin asks if he thinks joining a gang makes him invincible. In the end, he is just acting as a hired goon for a high school kid. How pathetic. Hearing this, the guy gets deeply irritated, warning him that he is being disrespectful. Demanding respect, he introduces himself as Jai Young-yuk from Tiger Construction Company. He slaps Dojin Park heavily on the shoulder, expressing how deeply disappointed he is. Deciding to deliver a very real lesson today, the guy gets ready to attack. Clenching his fist to throw a punch, he is shocked when Dojin does not even flinch. Stepping closer instead, Dojin mocks how soft and fat the boss's fist has gotten. Wondering who is actually teaching who here, in the next second, Dojin Park strikes. He drives a brutal gut punch into the big guy, folding him completely. Standing over him, Dojin laughs at his terrible defense, telling him to work out. He complains about having to touch a greasy body, immediately preparing to swing again. Sending a devastating punch right to the big guy's face with incredible force. The thug flies several meters back, crashing heavily onto the dirt. Dojin seems disappointed. He challenges the rest of the gang to come at him all at once. They charge in anger, but Dojin Park does not waste time and rushes right in. Within seconds, the entire crew is sprawled on the pavement because they are no match. He stands paralyzed, too terrified to speak when Dojin Park suddenly glares at him. Shaking with fear, the kid bolts, and Dojin Park is right on his heels. But the massive guy launches a surprise attack, swinging a heavy baseball bat. Dojin Park instantly abandons the chase, throwing up his arm to block the weapon. The giant swings again, but Dojin Park's friend blindsides him with a hard strike. Taking the opening, Dojin Park rushes in and throws a massive, lightning-fast punch. It connects straight to the face, sending the giant flying back until he blacks out. Dojin Park searches for the runaway student, but the kid is already long gone. He has to let it go. The next day, Degan arrives at school. Manhwa and the others immediately corner him to explain how collection day works. Since he controls 4 classes, he is apparently entitled to a massive cash payout. They assume that is why he wanted the throne, but Degan is completely lost. Right then, Mong Young Kim steps in to clarify things for the new boss. It is basically a protection racket, and class bosses pocket all the dirty cash. The more territory Degan rules, the richer he gets, but Degan hates this. He firmly declares that the extortion ends today, absolutely no more collection. Manhwa and the crew instantly panic, pleading that they cannot just stop. A cut goes directly to the older second and third-year students upstairs. Refusing to pay means waging war against the entire high school hierarchy. The fallout would be devastating. Degan pauses, weighing the massive risks. Taking on the whole school is dangerous, but he came here to clean up. He decides to ignore the threat. Just then, Jinmo runs up to them. He gasps out that someone wants a word with Degan, which immediately annoys him. Why does everyone suddenly want his time, but the guest is a total shocker? It is Suzy Beck. Angered, Degan immediately grabs Jinmo by the throat. He asks if Jinmo has a death wish for bringing her to his face. Suzy Beck warns Degan to let him go before she loses her patience. Sure, Jinmo is annoying, but she is the only one allowed to thrash him. Degan scoffs. Class 6 is his territory now, so Jinmo is his to deal with. Suzy Beck steps right into his space, determined to take Jinmo back. She tells him to stop bullying, claiming she is far above his rules. She yanks Jinmo hard, but Degan holds him in place, refusing to budge. Degan tells her to do her worst because he is not letting go. Irritated by his arrogance, Suzy Beck gets physically aggressive, starting a massive tug-of-war. In the chaos, she accidentally hugs Jinmo's arm tight against her chest. This sends Jinmo straight to absolute heaven, and his face goes completely red. Degan notices his weird, blissful expression and asks what is wrong with him. Susie Beck instantly realizes what is happening and recoils with utter disgust. She drops his arm immediately, but a cold, murderous aura suddenly fills the air. The next second, she karate chops Jinmo right in the side of his neck. He flies back several meters, crashing hard while she gives him 3 seconds to run. Terrified, Jinmo scrambles to his feet and sprints away like a track star. He is secretly thrilled inside, though. Susie Beck then refocuses on Degan. She tells him she actually came here for a completely different reason. Suddenly, she grabs his collar, slamming him hard against a nearby steel pole. She is about to speak, but the moment she meets June's gaze, she quickly looks down. Her chest tightens, heart hammering so fast she cannot even find the right words to say. Seeing her hesitate, June sighs, "If you have something to say, spit it out. I do not have time." Susie Beck snaps her head up and blurts out, "Brother." She instantly freezes, completely shocked by her own words. She never expected to use that title again. Shaken, she scrambles to explain. "I did not mean you. Last time was just a slip of the tongue. Since you are a transfer student, you probably do not realize how much power my brother holds here." One word from him and everyone falls in line. June just stares at her, totally speechless. "Did you seriously drag me all the way out here just to tell me that?" He grabs Susie Beck's arm, twisting it to lock her firmly in place. She gasps, completely trapped. No matter how hard she struggles, she cannot budge an inch. June lanes in, "Stop fighting and call your brother. I actually want to meet him." Susie Beck freezes in absolute disbelief. Is this guy insane? Meeting Sayak Beck means death. That absolutely cannot happen, but before they can argue, heavy footsteps approach from the distance. A small group appears, led by the infamous fourth-class leader, Dajin Park. One of the bald guys with him spots Susie Beck and sneers at them. "Getting cozy in broad daylight, are we?" June just glares and fires back. "What did you just say, Baldy?" Behind them, Dajin Park almost bursts out laughing. The bald guy's face instantly darkens with pure rage. "What did you just call me?" Seeing his target ready to blow, June casually raises his hands to mock apologize. "My bad, I really should not have made a joke about your lack of hair." Dajin Park loses it, laughing out loud. This kid is gold. Jacquin did not lose his hair, he shaved it. So calling him Baldy is totally fine, but another guy quickly tells them to shut up. Jacquin actually is losing his hair. The guy then waves June away, telling him to get lost. "Take your little girlfriend and go play somewhere else." June turns to Susie Beck, completely unfazed. "Do you know these clowns? Why are they ordering me around?" Susie Beck quickly whispers back. That is Ju Gongyang, and the bald second-year leader is Jacquin. Hearing this, a smug grin flashes across June's face. "We got here first," he says. "So if anyone needs to get lost, it is you." Susie Beck gasps in utter horror. "What are you saying? Are you completely insane?" Jacquin also doubts his ears. He steps forward, ready to teach this punk a lesson, but Susie Beck's phone suddenly rings. It is her brother, Sayak Beck. Ju Gongyang quickly grabs Jacquin to hold him back. Susie Beck answers, her voice shaking, "Brother, are you on your way? I will wait here." June asks if her brother is actually coming, but she completely ignores his question. She looks at the group and tells them they are leaving, since she still has business. "If you guys are done, I am taking him with me." Ju Gongyang steps forward immediately. He blocks the furious Jacquin and urgently whispers for him to calm down. "If Sayak Beck catches us beating his sister's friend, we are all dead meat." He waves them off with a fake smile. "Go ahead and say hello to your brother for us." Susie Beck grabs June and quickly drags him away. Ju Gongyang sighs as they leave. Must be nice having a strong brother. Jacquin watches them leave, seething. His face is red with rage, yet he does not dare touch the girl. He turns to Dajin Park. "You picked a good target. Make sure you destroy him." Dajin Park quietly watches June's departing figure, his mind spinning with dark thoughts. Get him quickly in the coming days. Meanwhile, Dajin Park watched Dean walk away. Dajin Park gets lost in thought. He cannot hold back his urge to fight anymore. Letting Degun simply walk away is not an option. He wants a test first. Nearby, Ju Gongyang warns him that they cannot make a scene with Suzy Beak around. But Dajin Park ignores the warning and instantly charges forward. Degun senses the sudden rush. He immediately pulls Suzy Beak to the side to dodge, barely evading the incoming blow. Dajin Park pivots instantly, pivoting on his heel to launch another fierce assault. Because Suzy Beak is standing right there, Degun can only focus on defensive dodges. After slipping several wild strikes, Degun finally spots a clear opening. He delivers a massive slap to Dajin Park's face that would normally knock anyone out. Instead, the stinging pain only fires him up, making him attack with renewed frenzy. Degun is privately surprised by the guy's insane resilience. He did not expect this level. But with Suzy Beak standing right behind him, Degun cannot let loose. He keeps stepping back, actively buying time and widening the gap between them. Moments later, Degun goes for an arm lock, but Dajin Park spots the movement. Reacting instantly, Dajin Park throws a hard kick that forces Degun back. Dajin Park mocks him, asking why he is only dodging, then Degun looks over. Suzy Beak has backed away safely, bringing a wave of relief. Now he can unleash. Dajin Park keeps jawing, asking him why he looks so incredibly pathetic. He sneers that the famous rumors are a joke, but the trash talk gets cut short. Degun moves like lightning, launching a heavy fist straight into Dajin Park's jaw. A vicious follow-up kick sends the trash talker flying several meters backward. The impact has Dajin Park spitting curses, but Degun is not done yet. Another brutal kick launches Dajin Park through the air, but the guy scrambles up. Standing on shaky legs, Dajin Park finally registers the terrifying gulf in their strength. He cannot help but mutter that Degun is actually on a completely different level. Degun casually asks if his arm is all right, suddenly sparking a wave of agony. The throbbing reminds him of their clash last night. He had completely underestimated the injury. Realizing he miscalculated, Dajin Park watches as Degun slowly slips off his jacket. Degun warns him to pray that arm holds up, because the real beating starts now. Right on cue, Suzy Beak screams out, demanding to know why he is stripping. Degun stands frozen and speechless, lamely explaining that he is only removing his jacket. Suzy Beak snaps back that he still cannot just undress in front of everyone. Looking around, Degun realizes a massive crowd has already gathered to watch them. A public brawl is out of the question, and Dajin Park grudgingly agrees. He calls it a shame, but points out they technically had their clash already. Dajin Park tells Degun to expect him next time, promising a much more brutal show. With those parting words, Dajin Park shoves his way through the spectators and leaves. Standing close by, the arrogant second-year Ju Gongyang offers a smug smirk. He tells Degun not to look so down, promising their paths will cross again. Degun snaps back, hoping Ju Gongyang shows up too so he can thrash them together. That blatant disrespect makes Ju Gongyang boil with rage at the arrogant freshman. He lunges forward to teach the kid a lesson, but Yian suddenly steps in. Yian warns him that a senior getting riled up by a freshman is embarrassing. Ju Gongyang swallows his pride, forced to back down. He turns on his heel and walks away alongside Yian, leaving Degun alone. Suzy stepped in, stopping the fight before it got worse. She immediately scolded Dean, calling him completely insane for irritating a powerful second-year boss like that. She warned him that even if he is strong, he shouldn't provoke second years. She also thanked him for the help, but told him not to grab her waist so tightly. Dean shrugged, casually claiming he was simply trying to be helpful. He then asked if her brother, Sayak Beck, was actually on his way. Suzy Beck admitted she totally lied to them, just to save his skin since he was acting so hostile. She asked why he kept pushing to meet her brother in the first place. If they actually crossed paths, Dean would likely end up completely finished. She told him to focus on the first years, as other class bosses wanted his head. With that final warning, Susie Beck walked away, leaving Dean standing there. It looked like he wouldn't meet Sayak Beck today. Dean sighed, what a waste of time. He regretted not just completely crushing that bald second-year boss when he had the chance. He still needed to ask Sayak Beck about the protection money. Still, that guy Dajin Park seemed pretty unusual. His heavy stance showed he was real trouble. Dean was actually surprised the guy survived his punch. Maybe he was rusty. He hoped Dajin Park could endure more next time so he could get his groove back. Cut to the classroom, where Dean and his entire crew are sitting together attempting to study. Just as Dean was quietly studying, trouble walked in. Dajin Park suddenly walked up carrying a book, making Manhwa immediately tense up. The guys assumed he wanted trouble, but Dajin Park just stopped right in front of Dean. He complained that he wanted to talk, but there were simply no empty seats left. His eyes drifted over to Jinmo sitting opposite Dean, ordering him to get up. Jinmo panicked completely inside, fully aware that he stood absolutely zero chance in a fight against this monster. But giving up his seat so easily with everyone in the room watching would be incredibly humiliating. His hard-earned reputation would instantly vanish, so Jinmo stood up to resist. He stood up demanding to know why he should move, while nearby, MSU Kim gasped in pure shock. He whispered that Jinmo was being stupidly brave, warning him that Dean wouldn't step in. Instead of getting angry, Dajin Park just smirked and slowly raised his hand to strike. Jinmo flinched back in fear, immediately feeling a wave of intense embarrassment. He quickly stammered that it was just a reflex, not fear. But Dajin Park laughed it off, proposing a simple game of rock, paper, scissors instead. Jinmo instantly relaxed, and they quickly played. Unsurprisingly, Jinmo lost. He put on a proud face anyway. He declared that since he lost fairly, he would gladly hand over the seat. He walked away feeling incredibly relieved to escape, while still keeping his fragile pride intact. But get this. Dajin Park suddenly patted his shoulder and asked him where he thought he was going. Without warning, a brutal slap sent Jinmo spinning. Dajin Park smiled, who said the seat was the bet. Since he lost, Jinmo had to take his actual punishment like a man. The hit sent him crashing backward, leaving Manhwa and the others completely stunned by the violence. That was some absolute terrible luck. Dajin Park then sat down. He faced Dean directly, who fully expected a fight, but this visitor actually had other plans. He calmly explained that he did not come to trade blows today, though they eventually would. Instead, he proposed setting up some conditions for a real high-stakes bet. Meanwhile, Ju Gongyang Seung Hyungu, the Class 8 boss, was making his move. Ju Gongyang is there too, asking if the venue is ready. Sunung Hun Lee confirms that everything is prepared. They can send everyone straight to the gym. Ju Gongyang approves, but immediately asks if he has seen the transfer student fight. Just how strong is he? Sunung Hun Lee admits he has not seen him. But since he beat Sang Bo's Sim, he must be pretty formidable. Ju Gongyang asks what he thinks of Dajin Park, an interesting guy with a one-man army vibe. Just looking at him is enough to make anyone feel pretty terrified. He has some massive advantages, especially with his incredible physical flexibility. That insane elasticity gives him formidable power, but fighters like him, relying purely on physical talent, tend to lack real technique. Meanwhile, Dajin Park is questioning his life. He has not won a single round of rock, paper, scissors against Degun, refusing to admit defeat. Dajin demands more rounds, but Degun shuts him down. He is done playing. Even if Dajin wins, Degun will agree to his terms anyway. Hearing this, Dajin gets pretty annoyed. What does he mean, even if he wins? But the next second, Dajin realizes arguing over a silly game is pointless. Standing up to leave, he warns Degun to remember his promise. No backing out now, and he expects to see him this Friday at the gym. Degun shrugs, no problem, but Dajin should probably fix his arm first. He does not want to hear any excuses later. Once Dajin leaves, Manhwa asks Degun why he would purposely lose a game to make that bet. Even if they have to fight, doing it in second-year territory seems sketchy. Degun is well aware that this is a trap, but it is also the quickest way to deal with the second-year leaders. Right then, another terrified student approaches Degun, looking for some help. Degun asks what is wrong, and the guy hesitates before begging him. For a favor, he wants Degun to intentionally lose to Dojin Park. Degun is completely baffled. The student quickly explains the crazy situation. That upcoming fight has triggered a massive betting pool across the school. Everyone is wagering cash, but this guy has an even bigger personal reason. Degun is highly skeptical. Losing on purpose is not exactly his style. He asks for the real story, and the kid stutters out the truth. Apparently, he previously hired some cheap thugs to teach Dojin a lesson. But the plan failed, and Dojin tracked him down last night for revenge. After a brutal beating, Dojin demanded protection money and dragged him along to hunt down the original thug and reclaim those 500,000 won. But the guy was gone, and a loan shark poster caught Dojin's eye. Dojin then forced this poor kid to sign for a high-interest loan. Dojin promised to pay him back, but only if he wins the match. So if Degun wins, this kid is ruined and remains stuck with heavy predatory debt. Hearing this sob story, Jui Park gets furious before Degun can even reply. She snaps, does he want to get beaten up by her instead, but Degun intervenes, promising to resolve the loan shark issue directly. Is he good at English? If so, he needs to meet him after school. Later, they head over to the loan shark's office, where Degun tells him to wait outside. Dean heads up first. Some guy stops him, asking what he wants or if he needs cash. Either way, Dean follows him deeper inside. The shady guy asks what grade he is in. He wants to know how much Dean needs, but Dean has zero intention of sharing. He is definitely not taking a loan. He quickly makes an excuse, ready to bounce. But the guy snaps. He grabs Dean, demanding to know if this is some kind of joke. He clearly does not buy the story. Who is he really? Dean simply grabs his arm. A sudden crushing pain shoots through the man's arm, making him tremble instantly. Dean warns him quietly. He is leaving now, and the guy better not follow him. Desperate, the guy snatches a heavy ashtray off the table to smash Dean's head. Dean easily dodges and drops him, delivering one solid strike that knocks him out cold. He turns to leave, but a stack of documents on the desk stops him. Flipping through the pages, he spots the loan details of the desperate student. But then Dean freezes in absolute shock. What he sees next makes no sense. A photograph of Chairman Lee is sitting right there. Why would they have that? Footsteps echo from the hallway. Dean scrambles for the exit before getting caught. The door swings open. The gang leader walks in, immediately demanding to know who Dean is. He looks over at his unconscious subordinate, thinking he's just asleep. Dean quickly slips past. The moment Dean vanishes, the thugs realize something is very wrong with their boy. Shouts echo behind him as they alert the boss. Hearing the commotion, Dean sprints. Fortunately, he is fast enough to lose them. Once safe, he pulls out his phone. He wants to ask Sammy Lee about the chairman's photo, but hesitates and decides against it. He needs to focus on Dojin Park first. He opens his weather app instead. Rain is predicted for Friday, which he hates. Before he knows it, Friday arrives. Dojin Park and his crew are already waiting at the gym. Sun Hun Lee prepares the space. The stage is set. Get ready, because the heavy-hitting second-year seniors are finally here. Leading them is their notorious boss, Zhao Wan. Meanwhile, Dean is on his way. He is accompanied by Manhwa and the crew, even though he begged them to stay. They simply could not let him walk straight into second-year territory, completely alone. Their bags are literally stuffed with weapons, leaving Dean completely speechless. Then, MSU Kim speaks. He claims to have a plan for Dojin Park, but Dean has already figured it out. That coin flip told him everything. This leaves MSU Kim and Hojong completely baffled. Suddenly, Dean's phone buzzes. He looks at the screen with an awkward expression. He tells them to head inside first. He has a quick errand to run. Promising to return shortly, he departs, leaving Manhwa and the boys to enter alone. Wan immediately mocks them, laughing that Dean must be too terrified to show. Manhwa snaps back that Dean never runs. Suddenly, Ju Gongyang recognizes the crew. He tells them to grab a seat, making MSU Kim sigh in massive relief. Having Manhwa around saved their skin. The intense pressure from these thugs is staggering. Just then, the heavy gym doors creak open again as more people arrive. A fresh group of uniformed students walks in, the infamous Sacred Ties crew. Their leader mutters that a silly freshman brawl does not need this much hype. But Sun Hun Lee, the Class 9 boss, steps up with a cold reply. They had no choice because this transfer student is definitely not your average freshman. Wan is genuinely surprised to see him. Ju Gongyang quickly tells them to sit. Sun Hun Lee quietly scans the room and takes a seat. Dojin Park sits with his crew, asking when that new transfer student is going to show up. Manhwa No and his guys get anxious, hoping Dune arrives soon. But as time drags on, Dojin Park loses his patience completely and hurls his phone, furiously demanding to know where this guy is. He is dying of boredom, screaming for anyone from the first or second year to fight him. His friend tries to calm him down, while Ju Gongyang suggests they find some cheap entertainment instead of wasting more time. That is when Dojin Park looks at Manhwa No, telling him to step up for a warm-up. Hearing this, Minsu Kim panics and asks Manhwa No what they should do. Manhwa No says it does not matter, because June being late is ultimately their responsibility, since he will face this guy first. Suddenly, Sung Hun Lee stands up and insists that cannot happen, as both fighters must be in peak condition for a fair fight. Dojin Park gets incredibly pissed off, asking what a bald guy like him could possibly know about needing a quick warm-up, but Sung Hun Lee refuses, saying he will put forward two of his classmates with special skills to fight instead. But wait, right then the door swings open. A voice asks if they are late. Manhwa spins around, hoping it is June. Dojin Park gets incredibly excited to start the clash immediately, but it is not June, it is Mongjun Kim. As soon as he steps inside, he yells out, asking if anyone is stupid enough to bet on Dojin Park winning today. Hearing this brazen statement, Dojin Park explodes with pure rage. What is this idiot talking about? Nearby, Minsu Kim quickly scolds him, telling him to shut up, but Mongjun Kim completely ignores him and asks who he should pay to place his bet, wondering if anyone here is too weak to handle losing. By now, Dojin Park is absolutely furious and demands to know if Mongjun Kim is the leader of the second class, but Mongjun Kim still does not grasp the danger, boasting that even though he was once a fighter, he now serves June. In the blink of an eye, Dojin Park steps forward and lands a massive punch. Mongjun Kim is completely paralyzed, but Dojin Park will not stop, grabbing Mongjun Kim by the head and throwing him down. He sneers that today he will teach him what happens to blind fools who cannot see who they are messing with. Mongjun Kim tries to speak, but Dojin Park gives him no room to breathe, launching a vicious kick. Nearby, Manhwa No watches in shock. Suddenly, Yichin remarks that before the main course they definitely need a good appetizer. Mongjun Kim has zero chance against Dojin Park, taking a brutal, one-sided beating. Dojin Park scoffs that this guy is barely a warm-up. He yells out to Manhwa No, declaring his turn is next. But then a voice echoes from the gym entrance, asking who wants to fight. It is June, arriving late as usual. Dojin Park grins, shouting that the main attraction is finally here. Manhwa No and his crew breathe a sigh of relief. June apologizes for keeping them waiting, but Dojin Park remarks that his delay almost cost his friends their lives, though this beaten guy probably is not one of them. June says absolutely nothing, quietly taking off his jacket and noting that since his opponent has already beaten someone, they must be fully warmed up before Dojin Park can react. Get ready, because June throws his jacket straight at him, completely blocking his vision. In that instant, June strikes like lightning, landing a devastating punch on each of Dojin Park's nearby crew. He boasts about warming up using those friends, complaining their last fight was too short. What a pity, but today, he warns Dean to get ready because he is not holding back. Everyone looks anxious, while John orders them to drag the fallen guys to an open area. Meanwhile, Dojin Park is practically vibrating with excitement, calling Dean a rare and interesting toy. With that, Dojin charges forward, declaring he wants to tear Dean apart, throwing a heavy punch. But no matter how wildly Dojin swings, he cannot land a single blow, which only makes him angrier. Furious, Dojin screams, demanding to know what Dean is doing and why he keeps running away. He challenges him to have the courage to trade blows instead of just dodging. Ms. Kim and the onlookers are completely baffled by Dojin's incredibly sloppy, aimless swings. He has so many openings, yet Dean only continues to step back, prompting Ms. Kim to speak up. She suggests that Dean is simply analyzing his opponent, which matches his usual fighting style. In every solo duel, he prioritizes evasion until he fully measures his enemy's actual strength. Once he figures them out, he strikes back, and that is exactly what happens next. After dodging another wild assault, Dean spots an opening and immediately retaliates. He drives a heavy punch right into Dojin's ribs, prompting a desperate failed counter. Dean slips the strike, hooking Dojin's leg with his own to steady his balance. He leaps back gracefully before launching forward to nail Dojin with a solid punch. The force sends Dojin flying, but the beast immediately kips right back onto his feet. He unleashes an even more ferocious barrage, desperately trying to overwhelm his opponent. Yet his fists only hit empty air, while Dean repeatedly breaks through his guard. Dean easily weaves through and delivers a stinging slap to Dojin's face. Before the brute can even register the insult, Dean follows up with a heavy strike. A devastating horizontal kick lands square in his gut, sending him flying backward. He rolls across the dirt for several meters before finally catching his footing. Talk about absolute dominance. Everyone is shocked Dean tossed this monster around so easily. Especially since Dojin could not even touch him, Sun Hun Lin notes the critical flaw. If Dojin keeps using such wide, telegraphed swings, he will never touch Dean. Dojin grimaces, complaining about how hard he hits, but Dean merely shrugs it off. He admits he did not expect Dojin to be this tough, promising a decent warm-up. Dojin is stunned that this is just a warm-up, but laughs it off, claiming the same. With a wild grin, Dojin charges in once more, but the outcome remains unchanged. No matter how hard he tries, he cannot land a single strike, making Dean smile. The poor guy still does not get it. Fighting like this, he stands zero chance. It is honestly a pity that he has not figured out what actually matters in battle. Without that realization, his raw, destructive power means absolutely nothing against refined skill. He will just keep taking a beating. At this point, the crowd finally notices. Something is seriously off, and Manhwa realizes exactly why Dojin is getting destroyed. Despite having a monstrously tough build, Dojin relies way too much on pure physical strength. Because of that, his attacks completely lack any actual martial arts technique. Brute force usually hid his massive technical gaps, but not this time. His opponent today is Dean, who possesses both overwhelming power and perfect technique. Now Dojin is genuinely starting to question reality. He is totally lost. Why can't he land a hit? Dean just yawns and tells him to try harder. He mocks him, asking what happened to tearing apart the things he likes. Meanwhile, over at Susie Beck's place, Jizio has just delivered some shocking news about Dean. Susie Beck ran to the scene, desperate to stop him. Dean had totally lost his mind by mouth-fighting the seniors. Terrified of the upperclassmen, she pushed herself to sprint even faster. Meanwhile, hearing Dean's mockery made Dojin Park slap his own face twice. Trying to focus, he told himself that he had endured enough of this. Now it was finally his turn to strike, so Dojin Park lunged forward. But Dean just kicked him away like trash, refusing to stay down. Dojin Park scrambled up, desperate to change the outcome, but it was useless. He couldn't land a single hit, just pure one-sided violence. Countless brutal punches later, his body finally gave out on him. Seizing his hair, Dean violently slammed his skull onto the hard floor. Total silence. No one expected Dajin Park to get absolutely demolished. Turning to Ja Kwan, Dean thanked his opponent for a quick warm-up. Next up Baldy, but right behind him, a shadow stirred. The beaten Dajin Park dragged himself up, wheezing that this battle was just beginning. The crowd gasped in shock, never expecting the kid to stand again. But Dajin Park's bloody, terrifying glare made everyone hesitate to intervene. Dean spoke softly, telling him to wipe the blood off his mouth. Dajin Park growled, figuring out that Dean had simply read his moves. But what happens when your body fails to keep up with your mind? Singu watched quietly, murmuring that the real fight was only starting now. Driven by pure desperation, Dajin Park was pushing past his normal limits. Dajin Park lowered his stance, building up an explosive sprint. Charging straight at Dean like a demon, he was immediately shut down by a solid punch. Dean shook his head, asking what he was babbling about. Dajin Park was annoyed. Anime logic failed. Sun Hangu admitted movies are different from real life. With a sigh, Dean turned his focus back to Ja Kwan. He asked if they were really shaking down kids like cheap thugs. Who gave them permission? They're all supposed to be students here. From now on, the racket ends, or they'll get crushed like Dajin Park. Ja Kwan laughed from the stage. You really don't get it. Paying protection money is simply the price for their spiritual freedom. Dean cut him off, asking what kind of holy monk he was playing. Just get your bald head down here, and let's see how it handles a headbutt. Zhu Gongyang instantly lost his temper and spat curses. Screaming, he demanded to know who this arrogant kid thought he was. Then the boss spoke. The senior boss sighed, complaining about the complete lack of manners. A freshman trying to end their tradition was just pure comedy. He decided talking was a waste, opting to let pain be the teacher. Instantly, the entire gang stood up, surrounding Dean from all sides. Watching this, Manhwa panicked, desperately wanting to jump in and help. But a second later, a beaten body came flying right past his face as Dean yelled back, telling him to stand back and just watch how it's done. The cocky upperclassmen stood absolutely zero chance against Dean's brutal, overwhelming power. He dismantled them in seconds, leaving Zhu Gongyang completely frozen in terror. It was pure chaos, and in the middle of it, a coward tries to smash Degun from behind. Manhwa screams out a desperate warning, but everything changes in a split second. The attacker is instantly swatted away. Manhwa just stands there, totally baffled. It was Dajin Park, and the monster had somehow dragged himself back up to his feet. A pissed-off sophomore tries to charge him, yelling to know what he is doing. Dajin just slaps him down instantly, looking like a completely different, terrifying beast right now. Grinning wildly at Degun, Dajin growls that this fight is far from over. He claims Degun has only one attack left, so he will unleash his ultimate hidden strength. Manhwa is stunned when Degun actually drops into a real, serious fighting stance. Dajin is slightly thrown off, muttering that he has no clue what Degun means. But his body feels incredibly light, and he is absolutely sure he can tear him apart. With a mad grin, he charges forward, but Degun does not even flinch. His eyes stay locked onto Dajin, tracking his every step as the distance closes. Just as Dajin finally reaches him, Degun counters with a lightning-fast, incredibly brutal uppercut. The blow connects squarely under the chin before Dajin even registers what hit him. Dajin goes down cold. While Degun holds his stance, Jagwin watches in complete horror. How is this even possible? He wonders how this kid could possess that legendary, terrifying aura. The boss is incredibly annoyed, wondering why that strike sounded exactly like a gunshot. Degun thinks it is finally over, but Minsu warns him. He warns Degun not to jinx it, just in case Dajin somehow stands back up again. But this time, Dajin is completely out cold, lying motionless on the dirty floor. Degun reassures everyone, saying that last hit was definitely the guy's limit. He tells the crew of Dajin to carry him away, leaving Jagwin trembling in complete and utter disbelief. His leg shakes so violently, it leaves marks on the floor as he mutters. He wonders how this kid can have the exact same aura as that terrifying man. Ju Gongyang is stunned, asking if he could possibly mean the legendary and terrifying Suhak Baek. As Jagwin gets lost in his memories, Ju Gongyang slaps him back to reality. He demands to know their next move, but Jagwin can only shake his head. He admits his own level cannot measure his power, but knows nobody here can stop him. Degun steps forward, declaring that the protection money racket ends right here, right now. He challenges anyone who disagrees to step up, but absolutely nobody dares to move. Since no one is volunteering to fight, Degun decides he will just start picking targets at random. He is about to point a finger when his phone suddenly buzzes with a call. It is Sammy Lei, demanding that he listen carefully and follow her instructions from now on. Minsu and the rest of the crew watch, completely bewildered by the sudden call. Sammy Lee wraps up her briefing and promises to touch base again very soon. Degun slowly pockets his phone, realizing he needs to wrap things up here right away. He announces they are done for the day, letting them off the hook this time. With a quick nod, he gestures for Manhwa and the other guys to follow him out. The crowd lets out a massive sigh of relief, but their peace is instantly shattered. Degun spins right back around, bringing up the protection fees they plan to collect. He warns them that if they even try it, he will destroy them all. Though furious, they stay dead silent as Degun pushes open the doors and bumps into someone. It is Susie Beck, who had sprinted all this way, utterly terrified for his safety. Seeing him standing there completely unharmed, she immediately asks if he is actually okay. Dean assured her he was fine. Susie Beck stood there utterly frozen. Second-year thugs lay defeated everywhere. She gasped, staring in pure shock. She gasped in shock, "Did you really do all this?" Dean ignored the question completely, casually offering his jacket to her instead. Dropping the coat over her shoulders, he watched her blush bright red. She mumbled a soft protest, but wrapped the warm jacket tight. Dean gently adjusted the collar. To Susie Beck, it felt like something special. Almost like a wedding dress, she was completely lost in her daydreams. But Jinmo ruined the moment, asking if she was coming with them. Shaking off her thoughts, Susie Beck scrambled to catch up with them. Watching them leave, the Sacred Ties boss stood there utterly speechless. Who exactly was this transfer student to Susie Beck? This was getting complicated. Sun Hun Lei whispered that ordinary seniors could never handle a beast like him. They had to use his connection with Susie Beck as leverage. Dragging Sayuk Beck into this was the play. Meanwhile, Manhwa walked 3 kilometers. Realizing Mong Young Kim was lagging behind, Dean asked them to protect him. He apologized, explaining he had urgent personal business before running off alone. Following instructions from Sami Lee, Dean headed back to that lone company. He had received a strange, anonymous text message showing his own face. But after searching the records multiple times, his files were completely missing. This was his chance to get answers and clear the air himself. But the moment he entered, he spotted several suited men waiting inside. He hung up instantly as the guys surrounded him, demanding his name. Dean remained silent. Angered by his attitude, one man swung a slap. Big mistake, Dean countered, throwing a brutal slap that sent him flying. The rest of the crew lost their tempers, getting ready to swarm Dean together. Suddenly, a voice called out to stop, warning them that Dean was lethal. The man approached Dean with a calm smile, asking how he had been. Staring at the familiar figure, Dean admitted he never expected this reunion. He was looking at Hijin Park. Soon, they went outside to catch up. Dean put the pieces together, realizing that anonymous text message came from Hijin Park. He asked if this chaotic mess at the office was also his doing. Hijin Park replied that these fools had been digging into their business. He had assumed Dean was the one secretly investigating them in the shadows. But he promised that he was the only one who knew about it. Then he asked Dean why on earth he was wearing a school uniform. Dean told him to back off and not pry into his new life. He had his reasons, Hyejin Park sighed, admitting he did not understand. But he warned Dean not to place too much trust in Sami Lei. Dean made it clear he wanted absolutely nothing to do with their schemes. All he wanted was to study hard, graduate quietly, and live normally. He just wanted to attend a good college and enjoy a simple existence. Getting up to leave, Dean told Hyejin Park it was nice seeing him. But he warned him never to interfere with his everyday life again. As Dean turned away, Hyejin Park suddenly asked one last crucial question. Told to focus on his studies, Dean remembered he wasn't even as good at academics as Jinmo and instantly got annoyed. He turned to face Hyejin Park and snapped fiercely, "Do not ever appear in front of me again." But after walking for a bit, Dean realized something was off. Hyejin Park claimed he had already deleted his information, so how did he know about his connection with Sami Lei? The next day, having defeated Dojin Park, Dean got a short weekend break. On that day, he headed to the baseball stadium with Manhwa and the others to relax. Spotting Dean, Manhwa immediately handed him a pen. Seeing this, Dean assumed Manhwa was encouraging him to study hard. But Manhwa laughed, "What nonsense, this is actually a weapon for you." After saying that, Manhwa walked into the stadium ahead of him, nearby Juhai Park. Then stepped up and grabbed Dean, urging him to head on up. When they got up there, they saw Manhwa and the crew already playing. Seeing this, Dean was eager to watch Manhwa play, but Manhwa struggled with a baseball bat, and in the next second, Dean saw Manhwa miss every single ball. Dean couldn't help mocking him, saying he was playing terribly. But Manhwa quickly replied, "What's the rush? This is a new bat. He was just testing the field, but now he'd use his real bat." In the next second, a pitch flew right over, and this time Manhwa hit it perfectly, a home run. How did Manhwa suddenly get so good? The guy explained proudly, "It was all thanks to the secret baseball technique he researched. It's actually very simple, just look at the ball slightly cross-eyed. That way your focus blurs and you see everything, even the ball." When those two images finally come